Chapter 1147. Lin Che shook his head. It doesn't hurt. Liar, you're sweating. He stroked her forehead, his fingers trailing down her hair and cheeks. Stroking her, he said, Don't give birth anymore. Just this once. The pain will be over soon, okay? Okay, I won't. Really, at this moment, when the pain was unbearable, she only had one thought. She would never have children again. Gu Jingze was already regretting it. Why would he have children when he already had Nian Nian? She was in so much pain. It was so painful that his heart was trembling. Okay, I won't have children anymore. We'll go out and play after the birth. Where do you want to go? I want to go to the North Pole. Okay, the North Pole. I want to see the Aurora Borealis. Okay, I'll take you there. I want to live in a house with a transparent glass roof. Okay, I'll take you there. Gu Jingze kissed the back of her hand and whispered to her. Outside, there were still people coming and going. The nurse was so touched that her eyes were moist. Mr. Gu is so good to Madam. He keeps saying that he won't have children anymore. His heart aches. Most rich families valued sons over daughters. They wanted children over their mothers. The more children they had, the more rewards they would get. They treated their children like tools. However, Gu Jingze was different from them. Look, the more handsome a man is, the better he treats his wife. He's so rich, yet he loves his wife so much. I'm so jealous. However, Lin Che still couldn't give birth. Her water had broken, but the child wouldn't come out. The cervix wouldn't open until 4 fingers. The doctor was anxious. Gu Jingze looked back at the doctor from time to time. His gaze made the doctor feel like he was going to die. Seeing that Lin Che had been in pain for almost an hour without moving, Gu Jingze raised his head and asked sternly, What's wrong? Why does it still hurt? The doctor's face was pale, and he was about to cry. Sir, the cervix isn't open yet. We're monitoring it. If there's still a problem later, we'll have to operate. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes and wanted to say something, but Lin Che hurriedly pulled his hand. It's only been a while. Don't be anxious. It's not uncommon for people to be in pain for a whole day after giving birth. If he continued like this, the doctor would probably be scared to death. Didn't he know that his presence would make the doctor even more nervous? Gu Jingze said, one day, No, let's do the surgery. Lin Che shook his head. I can still hold on for a while. Let's see. Yannian also hurt for a few hours at that time. It's fine, but as long as the child is fine, I can still endure this bit of pain. But he couldn't hold on. Looking at her like this, he felt as if every day felt like a year. However, even so, he still respected her wishes. If she wanted to persist, he would let her persist. Outside, however, someone was already working behind the scenes. Lin Che's sudden birth caught many people off guard. However, some people who were already prepared were still making their moves. Lin Che can't give birth yet. If there are no accidents, one of these needles will suffocate the child to death today. At that time, she may not be able to survive. What medicine is this? This is a new type of pregnancy protection medicine. It's been used a few times abroad. It's very useful when it's used to protect the fetus. However, during labor, using it will only cause the cervix to close and the body to stiffen. The child won't be able to come out and might very well suffocate to death in the womb. Okay, use it. Use more of it. Now, that Gu Jingze is inside, and it's a mess outside. He may not be able to care. Yes, a group of people quietly snuck into the hospital in the dark. There was a trace of darkness in the white coat, making the already tense hospital even more crowded. And inside, Lin Che was still in so much pain that he was screaming, Gu Jingze, I can't. I'm in so much pain. Go out first. Don't worry about me. No, I can't go out. Lin Che, I have to watch over you. But what could he do if he was here? She didn't want him to be too nervous. Having experienced giving birth once, she knew that the scene was also very scary. She didn't want him to see it. But now that her stomach was in so much pain, why was the child still not moving? She gritted her teeth and endured it. When the doctor heard her scream, he came in again in a panic. The few of them monitored her stomach to see if there was any movement of the fetus inside. Sir, we might need to give you an injection to induce labor. The cervix is still not opening. We can't do anything about it. Lin Che nodded. Do it. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che deeply and could only nod. Do it. The doctor quickly asked someone to prepare the medicine. Gu Jingze looked at the people who came in and hung up the again to change Lin Che's dressing. He stared at the person and the yellow medicine bottle. After it was taken down, he changed the antibiotic that she had been injected with. Just as the yellow medicine was about to be injected. Wait a minute. Gu Jingze grabbed the wrist of the doctor who came in. The male doctor's gaze moved, and he looked flustered. He grabbed the man's hand. I didn't see you just now. The man said, I've been here all along. You probably didn't notice. No, you didn't come in. You're lying. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. He grabbed the medicine bottle and pulled it away. Lin Che was stunned. He saw that Gu Jingze was still holding the man's hand and pressed him onto the treatment table at the side. Gu Jingze had a photographic memory. He saw the faces of the few people in the room clearly. He couldn't be wrong. This person definitely wasn't there just now. The man froze. Seeing that he had been exposed, he turned around and shot at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze! Lin Che cried out in surprise. He didn't know where he got the strength to sit up immediately. Gu Jingze reacted quickly and avoided the most dangerous part. However, the bullet still hit his left shoulder. The man saw that he didn't hit Gu Jingze, but after Gu Jingze was shot, blood immediately spread out on his white shirt, leaving a bright red patch. Then, the man was about to shoot in Lin Che's direction. Gu Jingze pounced over and grabbed the man's wrist. The gun fell to the ground. The man aimed it at Gu Jingze and shot. Gu Jingze didn't make a sound. He still held onto the man's body tightly. At this moment, there was a bang above his head. Gu Jingze felt the body of the person under him twitch. He was stunned and looked up. In front of him, Lin Che held the gun in one hand and looked at the person under her trembling hand. She was the one who fired the shot just now. The person under her was already lifeless. She was killed with a single shot. Gu Jingze pushed the person away. Lin Che seemed to have used up all her strength. The gun fell from her hand, and she took a few steps back. Chapter 1148. Before she fell, Gu Jingze had already caught her in his arms. Lin Che couldn't care less. She grabbed his arm and said, "No, it's coming out. I can feel it." However, the doctors and nurses had already run out. There was no one left in the room. Gu Jingze looked back. He scanned the room, but couldn't find her. He shouted, "Someone get the doctor. Lin Che is going to give birth." However, there was still no one outside. Lin Che seemed to be very weak. She pulled him and shook her head. "It's okay. Let me lie down." Gu Jingze gritted his teeth and put her down on the bed. She pulled on the iron ring on the bed as she arched her legs and used all her strength. She screamed in pain, but she still couldn't give birth. Gu Jingze watched from the side. "No, I'm going to get the doctor." Lin Che shook her head. Don't leave me." She didn't want to be with a corpse at this time. Gu Jingze looked down at the corpse on the floor. He nodded and held her hand again. Lin Che exhaled and gritted her teeth. "It's just giving birth. I can give birth. I don't need help." Gu Jingze could only hold her hand again. Lin Che squeezed it hard and screamed with all her might. She raised her head and used all her strength. Suddenly, she felt something rushing out of her body. "Gu Jingze, the child is coming out. It's coming out." Gu Jingze had been so focused on looking at Lin Che that he had forgotten everything else. When he heard her scream, he hurriedly went downstairs and carried the child out. There was still some gray on the child's head. It was covered with blood. When he thought that it was all Lin Che's blood, he felt even worse. It was the first time in his life that he had experienced holding the warm child and watching her cry. Hearing Lin Che lie down again, panting, he still didn't know what to do. He could be a mighty emperor in front of thousands of soldiers, but now, facing a weak child, he didn't know where to start. Lin Che got up and said, "Scissors, cut the umbilical cord first." Listening to Lin Che's instructions, he immediately went to look for something. Although his brain was in a mess, he was still Gu Jingze. He still had his judgment and the ability to trigger. His innate sense of operation allowed him to quickly understand what he had to do. His brain was spinning quickly. He thought about it and understood that he had to do something at this time. The baby was removed and the umbilical cord was bandaged. Lin Shay continued to exert force and squeezed out the remaining things from the uterus. Only then was he done. After that, she had no strength left. Gu Jingze held her in one hand and the baby in the other. He had completely forgotten his own pain and walked out of the delivery room. However, he saw that there was still no one outside. The huge hospital seemed to have been emptied all of a sudden. Lin Shay couldn't help but feel cold. He looked at Gu Jingze and asked, "Where did everyone go?" Gu Jingze said, "Maybe something happened while I was inside. Don't worry. Let's find another place to rest first." Okay. With Gu Jingze by her side, Lin Shay naturally didn't have to worry about anything. At this moment, her head was completely exhausted. She had just lost a lot of blood, and her body was very weak. With Gu Jingze supporting her, she carefully walked to the side. She didn't know how much longer she could hold on, but at this moment, someone suddenly jumped down from above, broke the window, and jumped in. Lin Shay's heart palpitated. Then, she heard the person who came and call out, "Mississippi." That pleasantly surprised voice made Lin Shay feel even more amiable. It was Dongzi who came to find her. She said, "Dongzi, you're here." Dongzi hurried over to help. He carried Lin Shay and brought the two of them into a safe ward. After settling Lin Shay down, Dongzi then told them about the situation outside. Someone took advantage of what happened today and suddenly rushed into the hospital with his men. There had just been a gunfight in the hospital. Gu Jingming had already surrounded the place with his men. However, some of the troublemakers had already scattered in the chaos, and no one knew where they were at all. Gu Jing's men suffered some losses because they didn't expect the other party to break in and shoot around with guns. Gu Jing's bodyguards were also in a mess. Gu Jingming made a prompt decision and asked everyone to leave the place. Then, a small team of people came in to patrol. They had to find all the people who had caused trouble. They had to search each room one by one. They had to prevent any of them from running around and putting Gu Jingze and Lin Shay in danger. And the people below had already found them floor by floor. Dongzi was worried about Lin Shay and Gu Jingze, so he looked down floor by floor. Just now, he happened to see two people from the window on this floor, so he quickly broke in. Lin Shay endured the pain and said weakly, "Did you lose a lot of people?" Dongzi didn't want to make her worry. However, since she had already asked, he couldn't lie. Some of them were at the door. They swore to guard the door and almost died together with the other party. Fortunately, because of their protection, Miss and Mr. Gu are fine. Lin Shay sighed and closed her eyes. Who would do such a cruel thing secretly? Gu Jingze didn't say anything. He turned his head and looked outside. His side profile was like a proud plum blossom in the winter. It was cold but proud and independent. Under the bone-piercing frost, there was a bit of stubbornness. Gu Jingze said, "Eldest brother wanted to search for the people so that they would be busy running away and wouldn't have the time to kill us. These people must have seen that the medicine didn't work and was discovered by me, so they decided to kill us ruthlessly. They had two plans in advance. One was to poison our children, and the other was to kill both of us and die together." Lin Shay said, "Why do people want me to die so much?" "Because we can touch too many interests. Those who want us to die." "Well, Lin Shay, let's not think about this. Wait a minute. Let Dongzi go and find them first. Since they failed to kill us, they won't do anything again. We will be fine." Lin Shay held Gu Jing's hand and saw that his arm was still bleeding. "Gu Jingzi." Gu Jingze looked down and shook his head with a smile. He looked at his daughter and then at her. "Silly girl, it's okay. I can still carry you and our daughter." "That's right, their daughter." Lin Shay lowered his head and looked at the weak child. A mist rose in his heart. What an adorable child. He lowered his head to touch the child. The child suddenly let out a loud cry. She didn't look like a lady at all. Instead, she looked like a tomboy. Gu Jingze said, "What should we call her?" "What do you think?" "Gu Shiwan. She's my wish. I hope that from today onwards, you and she will never be hurt again." Lin Shay pulled him slightly. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Chapter 1149. It was indeed a mess outside. Everyone was looking for Gu Jingze and Lin Shay. They were also looking for the people who suddenly started the gunfight. B City was completely locked down. All mail was not allowed to be sent out. The streets around the hospital were blocked off. None of the doctors and nurses were allowed to leave. They were all gathered in a conference room and were only allowed to leave after passing the examination. The strict examination was very scary. Since they became doctors, they had never encountered such a thing. However, who knew that they would experience something that they would never have thought of in their entire lives and be brought here for examination? Fortunately, after passing the examination, Mr. President personally arrived and spoke to all the medical staff, thanking everyone for their cooperation. Because there were some people who were not safe in the hospital, they had to be examined one by one. After passing the examination, everyone would be safe. After being comforted, everyone was let go. However, they still had to go through one procedure after another, so they couldn't go home for the time being. After calling their families to tell them that they were safe, everyone waited outside for the notice. There was no report on this incident on TV, and the bloodstained hospital had been quickly cleaned up. However, the wall that had just been burned by bullets could not be washed away. There were real traces left after the gunfight, which was shocking to see. After Lin Che and Gu Jingze were found by Dongzi, they were sent outside safely. At home, Lin Che was lying on the bed, surrounded by doctors and nurses. All the family members were still waiting outside to see the child, but they were all stopped. Lin Che still needed a rest. She had really used up too much energy because of what happened in the hospital. Fortunately, the child's body was fine, and she was also fine. She was just a little weak because of the loss of blood. Nian Yin looked at the little child, and her expression was very changing. She sighed and shook her head from time to time, which made Lin Che feel very interesting. Nian Yin, look at how much your sister likes you. You should also say hello to her. Nian Yin really wanted to grab her hair, but she didn't dare to touch the child at all. He's too small. What if he breaks it? I won't say hello. Ah, it's not a big deal to say hello. Yes, I don't want to. Ha. Nian Yin, you're actually afraid of babies. Gu Xinyan raised his head, his face dark. At this time, he still couldn't think of how this little demon girl would pester him all the way when she was a little older in the future. He couldn't do anything about it, and could only turn back to hug this koala bear and persuade her to be obedient, sensible, and not to cause trouble. If he was a little harsh, she would cry her eyes out, and he wouldn't be able to rest in peace. Of course, this was all in the future. Right now, Nian Yin could only sigh as he caressed the child's little hand. He felt that babies were the most terrifying things in the world. She looked too weak and delicate, but this was actually his younger sister. When Gu Jingze came in, Lin Che woke up in a daze. Seeing that it was already dark outside, she asked, "What time is it?" "It's late. Go to bed first." He stroked her cheek and sat down. There were many people looking after the child, so Lin Che didn't need to worry about it. Right now, the most important thing for her was to take care of her body. Lin Che said, "It's already so late. Why aren't you sleeping? Are you still working on something?" "Yes." Wasn't the incident that day very troublesome? First, there was the incident at the Gu residence, which caused some unrest among the clan members. Then there were so many incidents at the hospital. Gu Jingze stroked her hair. It's certain that the clan members are divided now. Anyway, there were differences to begin with, so it's easy to keep them in check. At most, they'll just quarrel among themselves. They definitely won't dare to split up. Then they won't take the opportunity to do anything, will they? They won't dare to. But the division is even more obvious now. I'm afraid that in the future, it'll be even more obvious for the various factions to form their own cliques. What should we do then? Sooner or later, I'll still get rid of them all. This can be done slowly. He kissed her forehead. How are you feeling? Lin Che said, I'm still a little dazed. You need to nourish your body. You don't need to nourish yourself so much. She said, how's the incident at the hospital? Gu Jingze said, they're still investigating who the people are, but no one escaped. Other than the remains of the corpses, they didn't catch anyone alive. Those who were alive have already committed suicide. It looks like they don't want us to leave any traces. Okay, but someone who can be so ruthless must have a powerful background. After such a meticulous arrangement, the other party must have the ability to fight against the Gu family. As Lin Che thought about the internal and external troubles, His heart also felt a little depressed. Gu Jingze leaned over and looked at her. Silly, don't think so much. The Gu family has always been like this. There will always be troubles, but we can handle every one of them. You have to believe me. Okay, I believe you. He groped and found her lips. All the troubles weren't troubles. In his eyes, they were like dust and could be ignored. However, when he thought of how she had raised a gun to kill people and how she had no choice but to hold blood in her hands, he couldn't stay calm anymore. These days, he had been trying hard to find her whereabouts. Every time he thought of Lin Che holding a gun, he only felt a crazed desire to find her and get rid of her, so that Lin Che wouldn't have to experience such things in the future, so that their lives could be peaceful. Although complete peace was impossible, he was willing to put in all the effort for it. Lin Che whimpered and wanted to move away. It was the middle of the night, and she hadn't brushed her teeth. Her mouth was uncomfortable, and she didn't want him to kiss her. Gu Jingze didn't care. He continued to press his lips against hers. Don't move. I haven't brushed my teeth. What's wrong with not brushing your teeth? There's a smell. Yeah, there's always a smell. Duh. It's sweet. The tip of his tongue pressed down. How can it be? It's true. Your body is full of sweetness. I don't believe it. You haven't eaten it before, so you don't know. He smiled and pressed against her. But I know that every place is sweet, every corner. Why did this sound so wrong? Every corner, so dirty. Then he pressed his mouth down and kissed her more intensely. Lin Che couldn't help but wrap her arms around his neck until she was out of breath. However, just when she couldn't stop herself, she put her hand on his arm. Yeah, he made a sound. Only then did she remember. Ah, your hand. He looked down. Fuck, it's bleeding again. Lin Che shouted anxiously, Quick, call the doctor. The doctor came very quickly. Gu Jingze's health had always been poor, but he had been working too hard, so the wound kept opening up. The doctor said, Sir, you need to rest well. Gu Jingze looked up, and the doctor didn't dare to speak under his cold gaze. Chapter 1150. Lin Che said hurriedly, Yeah, don't be so busy. Gu Jingze said, I'm fine. The doctor only said one sentence and could only watch helplessly. He didn't want to persuade Lin Che anymore, so he didn't want to. Looking at Lin Che, he reckoned that he wouldn't be able to do anything. After all, this patient was too powerful, and it was impossible for him to speak. However, Lin Che had already climbed over to his side, looked at him, and said, No, you can't go to work tomorrow. Be good. I'm really fine. But you said that you're going to keep your hands for me and cheer you on. How are you going to hold them now? Gu Jingze moved slightly. She said, If you don't hold me in the future, who am I going to look for? If not, I'll find someone else to hold me. Come back. Gu Jingze looked at her. It's okay. It's just a small wound. It'll be fine. He looked up at the doctor helplessly. It's done, right? Yes. The doctor quickly lowered his head and continued working. Looking at Lin Che, he thought that Madame still had a solution. If it were them, they would have been helpless. However, after Lin Che said a few words, he immediately shut up. Lin Che pulled Gu Jingze, feeling bored. She would be even more bored if he wasn't here. She held his hand and asked him to accompany her. When you're not here, I can only lie here and watch the servants play with the baby. I'm not even allowed to touch the baby. It's so boring. If you're here, I can still talk to you. Hearing this, he softened. He nodded and said, I'll be here with you tomorrow. She was finally happy. He looked at her helplessly. Meeting her was really like meeting a debt, and a debt that he was willing to pay. The next day, he really moved his work to her room. Confinement was really boring. Lin Che rested for a few days. Her only hobbies were watching TV and scrolling through Weibo. She was not allowed to watch too much, as she was worried that there would be problems with her eyes. Although Lin Che felt that it shouldn't be a big problem, she still respected it as a tradition. Fortunately, it wasn't like outside, where she was not allowed to shower or brush her teeth. If she really did that, she would be so dirty that she would hate herself to death. When she was abroad, she didn't know why, but foreigners didn't care about this at all. They even let her eat ice cream during her confinement period. She was scared out of her wits. It wasn't so exaggerated here. There were people taking care of her even when she showered and washed her hair. They wouldn't let her catch a cold. For a while, people outside heard that Lin Che had a daughter, although they felt that a daughter was not as precious as a son, and they could accept the fact that he had a son. Having a daughter meant having both a son and a daughter. In addition, they heard that Gu Jingzi didn't care whether the child was a son or a daughter and loved children very much, so they immediately came to give gifts. They were all rejected outside, but they still accepted the gifts. In Gu Jingzi's words, it didn't mean anything if he accepted it. If you gave it to me, I would take it. Lin Che asked someone to bring the gifts over to take a look. With one look, she was really shocked. There were so many expensive gifts, she was elated. Giving birth is so profitable. These people are really willing to spend. Gu Jingzi said, of course. Hearing that he doted on his daughter, these people tried their best to cater to him. Unfortunately, Gu Jingzi didn't even look at those things. Lin Che said, TSK, if they knew that you didn't even look at them, they would definitely be sad. I've already accepted them for a long time. I'll go back and thank the gods. Lin Che was speechless. What were these people after? They knew that he didn't lack anything, but they still sent them to him. They thought that Gu Jingzi would look at them a little more if they gave him some gifts. If they knew that Gu Jingzi didn't even look at who sent them and directly accepted them, they would probably cry. She spent her postpartum confinement with all kinds of gifts. Originally, they didn't want to see anyone, but when Yu Minmin and Mu Firen came, she met them one after another. Yu Minmin came with a child. Looking at the chubby child, Yu Minmin said enviously, she's so fair and chubby. I didn't expect you to be so thin, but your child is so fat. Of course, my child has absorbed it well. Lin Che didn't expect the child to be so heavy even though she was born 20 days later. She weighed 6.5 kilograms when she was born, and she grew at an astonishing speed. Looking at her now, she had already become a chubby little girl. But she was also very cute when she was fat. Yu Minmin said, the child looks so much like your husband. Lin Che looked at her and thought so too, that although she was very beautiful, she really looked too much like Gu Jingzi. Lin Che was unhappy. Why did she look so much like Gu Jingzi? Gu Jingzi was very happy when he heard that. He smiled, which was rare for him, and Yu Minmin was shocked when she saw that. After Gu Jingzi went out, Yu Minmin said, Gu Jingming has been working on this for a long time. The hospital is in trouble. I think it only reopened after a month. Lin Che said, you didn't hear any gossip. How is the Gu family now? She was worried that Gu Jingzi was afraid that she would worry too much, so he didn't tell her. Yu Minmin said, it's fine. Everyone is just saying that you're a scourge and caused the Gu family to split up. But no one dares to go against Gu Jingzi directly. After all, Gu Jingzi has made it clear that he doesn't worry about offending any of the family members for you. Xuanmingshan was so angry that he didn't go out for a few days. Xuanmingqi also stayed at home for a few days. It seems like she will definitely go against you in the future. You should be more careful. Lin Che snorted. I don't care. She can come if she wants. If she really wants to cause trouble for me, I won't give in so easily. Yu Minmin said, but Gu Jingzi must have lost a lot of people. I see that he has been recruiting bodyguards recently, and he has also asked many training bases to step up their training. Lin Che sighed. Thinking about those people who died for no reason in the hospital, he felt terrible. There were a few familiar faces that she couldn't see anymore. They were really dedicated and loyal. For Gu Jingzi and her, they had tried their best to buy time so that they could come back safely. Lin Che said, take out some of my money and send some compensation to them. I hope that their families can live a better life. Don't worry, Gu Jingzi's compensation is not small. It has nothing to do with Gu Jingzi. It's just a token of my appreciation, Lin Che said. Yu Minmin nodded and said, all right then. After Yu Minmin went out, she was surrounded by many members of the Gu family. Because they knew that so many people had gone, Yu Minmin was the only one who went and see them. They were all asking about the situation inside. Yu Minmin was on Lin Che's side, so she naturally didn't say much. But when she went back, she first helped Lin Che send the compensation. After that, Lin Che finally came out of confinement. He went up the mountain to pay his respects to the bodyguards who had died this time. Then, He brought the child back to the Gu family to see the Gu family. After the child incident, Gu Jingze was very indulgent towards her. He wanted to pluck all the stars from the sky for her and let her do whatever she wanted. Although she had seen the servants at home for many years, she couldn't get used to it anymore. Chapter 11:51. Gu Jingze, I want to eat an apple. Okay. Gu Jingze, give me a glass of milk. Okay. Gu Jingze, I want to go upstairs and lie down. Let's go. Gu Jingze. In the room, Lin Che's voice and Gu Jingze's voice could be heard all the time. Outside, the servants were discussing, Sir is really getting better and better to Madam. Yeah, he's so nice that it's scary. I don't know what Sir is thinking. He looks so scary. I've never seen Sir like this before. Hearing the servant's words, Lin Che walked in and saw that Gu Jingze was still reading his documents. Hearing her voice, he looked up at her and said, "Sit here for a while." Lin Che walked over and waited for him to finish his work before coming to see her. She looked up and said, "Gu Jingze, is there something wrong with you?" Gu Jingze said, "What's wrong?" As Lin Che said this, he pulled her into his arms. She blinked her eyes, casually wrapped her arms around his neck, and sat on his lap, moving around restlessly. She had just finished her confinement period, so he couldn't touch her yet. Now that she was rubbing against him like this, his eyes darkened. Lin Che said, "Why are you so nice to me? Why do you suddenly ask?" He raised his eyebrows and looked at her. She said, "Why? I'm just curious. Did I not treat you well in the past?" That's not it. It's just that you've been acting weirder lately." He shook his head helplessly. He took her hand and kissed it lightly before saying, "If a man doesn't want to dote on his woman more after seeing her doting for him, is he still a man?" Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. He said, "I just feel that I want to dote on you even more." Lin Che said teasingly, "Then, is it because you feel guilty in your heart that you want to dote on me?" He said, "How is this guilt? I just feel sorry for you." "Then what you're saying is that I've given birth and you feel guilty because I'm in pain, so you want to dote on me. You're slandering me." "I don't care. That's what you mean." "It's really not." "Then what's the reason?" Lin Che hooked his neck and asked with a pout. Gu Jingze looked at the arrogant Lin Che helplessly. "Because I love you." He leaned against her softly. His voice was as demonic as a ghost's, making one's heart melt. She wanted to hear him say that, so she deliberately twisted his words. It was so hard to hear him say he loved her. Perhaps it was also because he didn't like to express himself like this, so he didn't say it more than a few times. But now that she had really heard it, the feeling of being electrocuted, the palpitation that came from the bottom of her heart made her very emotional. When she looked at him, she smiled sweetly. Her coquettish expression lingered on her face, and he almost couldn't control himself. He wanted to press her down on the bed and ravage her. But now was not the time. Gu Jingze rubbed her ear gently, pinched her shoulder, and stroked it up and down. The large hand lingered on it, making her feel even more limp, especially when she stared straight at his pair of enchanting eyes. It really made her want to moan out loud. Gu Jingze was seducing her again. Lin Che hurriedly jumped down and snorted at him. "I'm not playing with you anymore. I'm going to see the baby." Lin Che hadn't returned to the company yet. Mu Firen had just finished her work, so Lin Che hadn't officially appeared in front of the media yet. She only heard from Mu Firen that she had just finished filming for the first season, and someone had sent her a lot of scripts to see if there were any that she liked. But she didn't want to be so busy at the moment, so she didn't look at them. Lin Che listened to her. If she liked acting, then she would act. If she didn't like it, then she wouldn't act. Anyway, Mu Firen had enough money to spend, and she didn't want to work so hard to earn money. Li Mingyu called to express his concern and said that he had prepared a gift for her. He reminded her that she had promised to make games with him, but they hadn't started yet. Lin Che saw that the gifts were all famous and expensive. After searching for a long time, she found a few that little girls would like, so she left them for Shi Yuan to play in the future. Since Li Mingyu was so generous to her, she couldn't be too stingy. She hurriedly searched for games online to see what people liked to play. The esports industry had just started. There were many types of games online, and the most popular one was online tactical games. Players could summon their heroes to play as their characters, But Lin Che only died after playing for a long time. She gave up after playing for a while. Then, she saw role-playing games that were also action-oriented, so she immediately started playing them again. She downloaded the one with the most people online, which seemed to be very popular, Tianyu. It was similar to the setting of the pugilistic world, which allowed players to level up, survive, fight monsters, and live in teams. It allowed players to experience all aspects of the game and immerse themselves in the game. In particular, the fighting was not simple, and the controls were considered complicated. The checks and balances between the various sects were also very strong, so the game was more balanced. Lin Che had been playing for a few days, and he had been leveling up on a small scale. On the other hand, Li Mingyu called Lin Che and asked, "What are you doing?" Lin Che said, "Playing games. I so free. It's my job. What do you know? Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. I have to play to know what's most attractive in the game." "Okay, I was just curious that you weren't around these few days. I missed you, so I wanted to see what you were doing and forget about me. I'm relieved to know that you're fighting for the both of us." Why did that sound so wrong? Lin Che only said one word to him, "Scram." Li Mingyu was about to say more when she said, "Don't disturb my game." Upon hearing that, Li Mingyu said angrily, "What game is more attractive than me?" "Any game is more attractive than you," Lin Che said decisively. Li Mingyu pestered her relentlessly, but she still told him. After all, the two of them were preparing to make a game, so she had to share her experience with him. Upon hearing that, Li Mingyu asked immediately, "What district? What's your name? What are you doing?" "I'm going to play with you." Lin Che said to him, "Tianyu, Telecom District 13, the hope of the village." Wait a minute, Li Mingyu took a long time to react. "The hope of the village? What kind of lousy name is that?" She said, "Why? I'm the hope of the village. Our village depends on me to get rich." Chapter 1152. This name was also a funny one. She came up with it casually and didn't think too much about it. Li Mingyu looked at it in disdain for a long time before hanging up. Lin Che continued playing the game. He had to take care of the child when he was free. When the child fell asleep, he would continue playing the game. He played the game while looking after the child. He was very happy. His day was very fulfilling. He seemed to be even busier than Gu Jingze. At this moment, Lin Che was doing his daily routine in the game. He was picking up cow dung. Suddenly, a person jumped over and a few words flashed on the screen. "Your cow dung has been taken." Then, he saw a shiny maroon horse appear in front of him. The man on the horse had white hair and white clothes. He came gracefully, his body emitting a rainbow and auspicious aura. His body shone with the light of Han Tian shakes the sea. He wore a black and white hat with a black and white cloud on it. The top of the hat was in a bun. His clothes fluttered in the wind. His long robe was black and white, and there was a silver cape on the back. It fluttered like snowflakes. What the fuck? Who is this? He's practically blinding my eyes. Lin Che looked up at the name. It was a very arrogant name, Demon Island Moonlit Night. Lin Che was about to scold him. He looked at his horse, his clothes, and all the equipment on him. That little bit of his name and the equipment data appeared. Damn, this person had a full set of Wuji equipment. This person had a full set of Wuji equipment. It meant that the full set could be bought with money. However, it was definitely priceless. This equipment could only be obtained by chance. It took a lot of effort and materials. Hence, people who obtained it usually wouldn't bear to use it themselves. If they sold it, it would be sold for a sky-high price. And this person, he actually had a full set of... How much money did he spend to buy it? It was impossible to say that he had obtained it himself. A person who could obtain 1 or 2 sets required years of experience. How could he have a full set at once? He must have bought it. She knew that she had met a rich player. She couldn't beat him and quickly retreated. Unexpectedly, as soon as she turned around, she was hooked back by his skill. "Ah, damn, I can't run. What else do you want?" "Hope of the village. Guru, what are you doing?" "I gave you the cow dung. If it's not enough, I'll let the cow poop some more." "Demon Island Moonlit Night. No way. I like to steal from you. Keep picking." Did he mean that she would pick up one and he would snatch the other? She said, "Hey, you're such a bully. You're the one I'm bullying. Are you unhappy? Come fight me if you're unhappy. Hee a match? Putting aside the fact that she was handicapped, even if she wasn't handicapped, with his equipment, she would still be able to kill him. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm leaving. You could go pick up the cow done yourself. After saying so, Lin Che ran. Although he was a cripple, he had trained up a set of extremely powerful escape skills over the past few days. After using several skills in quick succession, Lin Che used a set of Qigong and ran far away. However, the horses in the back were heavenly horses, the best horses in the entire game. One had to wait for a long time to buy a horse from Ano. Needless to say, he must have spent a lot of money to buy it. Therefore, when she was done with the set of Qigong, she raised her head and was shocked to find that he was still in front of her. Fuck, almighty, why aren't you moving? I'm inviting you to pick up cow dung with me. It's too boring for me to pick it up alone. Why are you running? Was there such an invitation? Also, why did these words sound so familiar? Lin Che, who was slow to realize, thought about it again. Demonized Island, moonlit night, you, Li Mingyu? Lin Che stopped as soon as he came to his senses. Looking at his flashy attire and that arrogant name, he became more and more unpleasant to the eye. She must have been blinded by lard. She thought that his attire was shiny. She must have only seen the shiny money on him. That was why she thought that he looked good, because no one would think that money didn't look good. But looking at him now, she immediately felt that his attire was really too much of a nouveau riche. He was just short of shouting, "I'm rich." She looked at him and said, "Hey, Li Mingyu, are you crazy? What are you doing? Ha ha ha, you found out. Get lost. You're here to play with me, right? Yeah, I'm here to play with you. Move away. Stay away from me. Don't disturb my game." Lin Che quickly walked away. Unexpectedly, Li Mingyu was right behind him. As he walked, he said, "Don't run. Tell me, I don't know what nickname I should use for you. Hope? The whole village? I'll call you Cece. Why don't you just call me Diarrhea? You can call me that if you want. Get lost." Lin Che said, "Then you can call me Cece. I'll call you Yu, little Yu. Get lost. I don't have such a girly name. Hee, your whole name has the word girly in it. Unless you change your name now. Hey, how is it, girly? Come back and tell me clearly." The two of them ran wildly. To be more precise, Lin Che ran wildly while Li Mingyu followed behind. Along the way, the people around them also looked on, admiring this rare, top-grade equipment. They were also guessing who this nouveau riche was and why they hadn't seen him in the game before. Lin Che only felt annoyed after the game ended. After that, he didn't go online anymore. Gujing's arm didn't seem to hurt so much anymore. As soon as he entered the door, he stretched his arm and said to Lin Che, "Hey, Ing is outside." Lin Che quickly went out to see him. He entered the door and looked at the child. He laughed and said, "Tizkadeske, what a pity. This child looks like Gujingza." Gujingza said from behind, "Take your hand away. Don't touch her." Hey Ing said, "Hey, she's my niece. Why can't I touch her? That's my daughter. Don't be fooled by her looks. Her temperament must be like our family. Look, she's so docile, not as hot-tempered as you. Like your family. Looks like I can't let her go out for the rest of her life." What? In case her IQ is limited and she's cheated. Lin Che stood there with He Ying and shouted at him, "Gu Jingza, who are you talking about?" Gu Jingza looked at Lin Che. "It's okay. I'm here. You won't be cheated." "That won't do." Gu Jingza said, "All right, you're here. Where's the gift? You didn't come empty-handed, did you?" "Hey, who asked for a gift so directly? Can't you be more polite? I'm too polite with you. I'm worried that you won't understand with your IQ. Get lost." Even though he said that, He Ying still delivered the gift. "Give my niece a piece of jade. Come, niece, play with it." Even Lin Che curled his lips. "It's just a piece of jade. You're too stingy." However, Gu Jingza could tell that this piece of jade was not ordinary. This jade, don't tell me it's an emerald bloodstained jade that was cut from that jade ring. What? Chapter 1153. Lin Che asked. Gu Jingza said, "This is a rare piece of chicken blood jade, but it's different. It's surrounded by a circle of emeralds. This piece of emeralds has been affected by the chicken blood jade all year round, so it's hard to tell that it's an emerald green. You can only see it when it's broken on the inside. That's why this piece of jade is one of a kind. It was given to the most powerful woman in the dynasty, the Empress Dowager, as a tribute. It was used to describe the Empress Dowager as a fresh flower in a field of green, one in a million. Later, it was made into a jade thumb ring. The thumb ring was broken later, but it's still kept in the museum. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingzi. Wow, that's amazing. Lin Che immediately beamed with vanity. He grabbed the jade pendant and chuckled. You don't have to be so polite. Wait a minute. Lin Che suddenly remembered that it was kept in the museum. Now as she looked up, where did you get it from? Oh, I thought that it's useless to buy you anything. Don't we have everything at home? I thought I might as well look for a special gift. I went to the place with the most collections and said that I wanted to give it to someone, so I asked the curator for it. Only God knew how he asked for it. He even went to the place with the most collections. Of course, the museum had the most collections, but which normal person would go there to find something to give to someone? Lin Che said, You, is this legal? Return it. Return it. The Black Eagle said, How is it illegal? He gave it to me. That's impossible. It's a museum, but it can't be illegal. Gu Jingzi said, Forget it. He took the jade pendant and looked at the small Buddha statue. He could see that the carving was not bad. He must have put in a lot of effort. Of course, if he didn't put in a lot of effort when carving such a good piece of jade, it would be a waste of such a rare thing. He said, All right, it looks good on her. Let her keep it. He lowered his head and stroked the little child who was looking around with her eyes wide open. She was a beautiful child. She was so young, but her eyelids were big. She had a pair of delicate eyes and was very charming. Her eyes were dark and bright like pearls, making people like her just by looking at her. Black Hawk said, In the end, it's still my gift that's better. Gu Jingzi said, Not bad. TSK. You really dote on your little princess, keeping all the good stuff for yourself. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to give it to his daughter, he probably wouldn't have accepted it. Gu Jingzi raised his head and said, Isn't this what you should do as an uncle? Hey, it wasn't easy for me to get here. Don't take it for granted. Although Black Hawk was a little messy, she understood his intentions. At this moment, he was thinking about what he could give back to him. He really didn't know what Black Hawk liked. No, she definitely knew that there was someone he liked. Mu Firen. She thought of this and smiled at him. Oh yeah, when are you free? We can go on a trip together. Travel? What's the point? Well, it's fine if you don't want to go. Anyway, I'm going to take Firen and the baby on a trip. We used to find a place for vacation every year, but we haven't had this opportunity since I got pregnant. Black Hawk's eyes lit up when he heard Mu Firen's name. Really? Where do you go for vacation? Are you ready now? I'll tell you when the time comes. If you want to go, remember that you'll pay for the travel expenses, room expenses, and meals. Hey, why should I? Black Hawk said. Lin Che said, That's the rule. If you don't want to go, it's fine. Black Hawk looked at Lin Che and then at Gu Jingzi. As expected, a married daughter is like spilled water. Gu Jingzi said, We have to leave the money for your nephew and niece. We have to save it. Black Hawk chuckled. Your money is enough for them to spend for several lifetimes. Don't try to fool me. Okay. I'll think about it. Let's check my schedule. Lin Che knew that Black Hawk's words meant that he agreed. She chuckled and leaned against Gu Jingzi, saying, Do you think I'm becoming more and more thrifty in managing my family? Yes, you're right. Black Hawk looked at the couple angrily. You're not thrifty anymore. You're cheating people. Humph. Lin Che went online to look for good places to go. There were many places that were suitable for vacation. If he wanted to take the baby there, he had to consider what the baby would like. He chose a few places and was going to discuss with Mu Firen. Now that the baby was born and Mu Firen had nothing to do with it, they could probably go for a walk together. This was a good opportunity. He continued to play the game at night. As soon as he got online, he was tracked. Before Lin Che could react, the person who was tracking him flew down. Lin Che took a look and saw that the other party had set off fireworks on the spot. For a moment, the fireworks were scattered all around, and a few lines of words immediately appeared on the line. Player, Moonlit Night, Demon Island. Set off, perfection. Fireworks for player. Hope of the village. All players in Chong, and will receive double EXP for 1 hour. Player Devil Island Moonlit Night. Set off, I love you for 10,000 years. Fireworks for player. Hope of the village. All players in Chong, and will be rewarded with double experience for 1 hour. Lin Che felt dizzy when he saw these lines of words. What the fuck is Li Mingyu playing this time? Li Mingyu, what are you doing? Lin Che looked for his character and asked. These fireworks were bought with money, so they weren't expensive. However, not many people would set off a bunch of fireworks in the game for no reason. This was because after fireworks were set off, the people in the same city would receive double EXP. Therefore, when they saw players setting off fireworks, many people would come to the city to bask in their glory. Li Mingyu was still setting off fireworks. Someone was already shouting in the World Channel. That's enough. I have enough for 24 hours. Tycoon, continue tomorrow. Someone else said, wait for me. I'm in the middle of a war. I'm going to Chang'an soon. I'll set it off later, Tycoon. While everyone was worshipping the Tycoon, Lin Che was being chased around by Li Mingyu. Lin Che said, are you crazy, Li Mingyu? Do you want to die? Li Mingyu chuckled. Is it fun? Do the flowers look good? I'll give them to you. Scram. Because of him, her extremely embarrassing name had been circulating in the world for a long time. However, Li Mingyu was not ready to give up. He continued to set off fireworks, causing the World Channel to speculate. Who is the new Tycoon? Is he going to give up for a day? Tycoon, please take care of me. Who is the hope of the village? Why is he being doted on by the Tycoon? Fuck, I just saw that Feng Ling Tian, who was first on the rich leaderboard, has been pushed down. Devil Island Moonlit Night is now first. Chapter 1154. This is a new account, right? He's already in first place. How much money did he spend? The previous first place seemed to have spent a few million a year. Then how many million did he spend in a few days? While everyone was still guessing, Li Mingyu had already made a new move. He directly said in the world chat, everyone, I'm going to give the Phoenix Rainbow dress as a reward to a unique woman. If anyone is willing to sell it to me, I'm willing to pay 2 million for it. Please contact me if you manage to get it. 2 million. Was it real or fake? The gangs that were participating in the battle were instantly roused. It took a lot of effort for a normal person to earn 2 million. If one battle could earn 2 million, why not? All of a sudden, the people who invested in the Son of War became even more invested. Now, this battle was no longer a matter of honor. It was directly linked to money. They weren't professional esports players, and none of them wanted esports prize money. They just wanted to play games, but 2 million from one battle was crazy. Lin Che, on the other hand, was completely crazy. All of a sudden, countless people came over to add her. She felt like her computer was about to explode. Looking at the verification, many people didn't even know who she was. They just said, pretty lady, get to know each other. Tycoon, let's be friends. Tycoon, can you introduce me to the Great Moon God? Fuck, she just wanted to play a game. She didn't want to cause trouble. Li Mingyu, this troublemaker, he really knew how to find things for her to do. She opened the chat window and asked Li Mingyu, hey, do you have too much money to spend? Yeah, how did you guess? You're so smart. Lin Che felt that she shouldn't continue talking to him, lest she die from anger. Just then, someone found Lin Che. Hey, Hope, I want to discuss something with you. What is it? Lin Che looked at the chat window. It was a person who looked familiar, but he didn't know him. He said, my girlfriend likes this dress. Can't you ask your boyfriend to give it up? He's not my boyfriend. He's a lunatic. I can't control him, Lin Che said. Stop it. If he's not your boyfriend, why would he spend so much money on you? I said he's crazy. How would I know why he's spending so much money? Lin Che said. As he spoke, he took a look at the rankings. Io, this is the Feng Ling Tian who was previously ranked first on the wealth list. At this moment, a female character appeared next to him. She looked like a support character and was wearing casual clothes. She was quite pretty, and her name was a couple with Feng Ling Tian. She was called Falling Rain of the World. This must be his girlfriend. However, what infuriated Lin Che was that she immediately said, your boyfriend is a little too much. Isn't it wrong of him to come and snatch what he likes? Hey, the things that she liked were the rewards of the great battle, and anyone could snatch them. How did it become snatching her things? Rain in the world and wind dominating the heavens had always been at the peak of the game. The two of them had been together for 2 years, and everyone knew who they were. Who would have thought that such a person would appear and steal all of their limelight? Usually, falling rain would speak arrogantly to everyone in the game. This was because the leader of the biggest gang in the region was her man. No one dared to bully her no matter where she went. However, Lin Che didn't fall for this. He looked at her and said, "Firstly, he's not my boyfriend. Secondly, that's not yours, so it can't be considered snatching. All right, I'm leaving. If you guys want to find trouble, go find Demon Island. Don't look for me." Unexpectedly, just as Lin Che was about to leave, she said, "If he's not your boyfriend, then he's your lover. Is he trying to keep you and spend so much money on you?" Her words were a lot more unpleasant to hear. Lin Che was playing a character that was extremely powerful. He looked very valiant and heroic. He held a spear in his hand, and he would raise it at anyone and start fighting. However, just as she was about to hit him, she saw the man and woman of the opposing team come up and beat Lin Che to death. Fuck! Lin Che was so angry that he shouted at the computer, "No way. 2 against 1? You can't bully me like that." However, the main point was that her character didn't have any useful equipment. She had just maxed out her level and didn't have anything. Her maneuvering was also terrible. This made her very angry. Gu Jingze heard it. He was reading some documents at the back. He looked up and asked, "What's wrong?" Lin Che turned around and said, "I'm so angry." She told him what happened and said speechlessly, "What does it have to do with me? Some people have money to burn and have nothing to do. They even drag me down with them." Gu Jingze frowned. This Li Mingyu really had a lot of problems. He said, "Let me take a look." When he went up, he saw Li Mingyu talking to her. "Lin Che, don't worry. I've avenged you. Tell me, why did you get killed?" "They're not killing you. You're dead. The key is that they're slapping my face. Really, I have to take revenge. I've already said, whoever can kill the 2 of them, I'll give $10,000 for each kill. I want to see how they're going to survive here." Lin Che was speechless. However, he saw Gu Jingze pick up the keyboard and start typing. After a while, a message was sent. "Yes, slapping but it's the same as slapping your face." Lin Che was even more speechless. Li Mingyu felt that something wasn't right. Hey, I'm on your side. You can't say that to me." "Where are you?" "At Guanghan Manor. Wait for me." Gu Jingze quickly arrived at the place. He studied it for a while and then used his skill. Lin Che couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow, Gu Jingze, how do you know how to play this?" Gu Jingze said, "I don't." "Then why do you know how to use skills?" "Guide." Lin Che looked carefully. There was indeed a guide on the side. Just like that, he read the guide as he played. Gu Jingze, who had a photographic memory, displayed his genius advantage at this time. He quickly arrived at the place and saw Li Mingyu fighting monsters. He was wearing godly equipment, and it was really cool. He finished killing monsters in an instant and didn't even need a second attack. When he saw Lin Che, a line of words appeared above his head. "Cici, you're here. Cici, you didn't see how I looked when I helped you take revenge. It was so cool." Lin Che watched from behind and broke out in a cold sweat. He felt that Gu Jingze seemed to be emitting a cold aura. However, he was still expressionless. Maybe it was all his own imagination. At this moment, he saw that, just as he said that, Gu Jingze had already dashed over and stabbed him with his spear. Li Mingyu cried out, "Hey Cici, why did you hit me?" Of course, Gu Jingze wouldn't listen to what he said. After a single stab, he only drew a line of blood. After all, Li Mingyu's equipment was too strong. Chapter 1155. However, Gu Jingze didn't want to fight him head-on. Li Mingyu went up from below. He was still cursing. "Lin Che, are you crazy?" At the same time, he also started to lower his guard and took the initiative to attack. However, this game was actually very balanced. Even if your equipment was very strong, it didn't mean that you could kill 1,000 people alone. Technique and mechanics were still very important. After one attack, only one line of blood came out. After all, Li Mingyu's equipment was too strong. Therefore, Gu Jingze kept attacking. He circled around Li Mingyu, dodging and attacking at the same time. After a while, Li Mingyu began to curse. Lin Che, what you doing? Hey, Lin Che, you're good. Damn, Lin Che, your hand speed is so fast. Lin Che, you know how to play. How did you die? After shouting for a while, he seemed to understand. Aw, damn, you're not Lin Che. Lin Che definitely doesn't have this skill. Who are you? Gu Jingze, why are you so nosy? Gu Jingze, just you wait. Say something. If you don't say anything, do you think I won't know it's you? He had already turned on his voice chat. At this moment, the sound of him tapping on the keyboard and cursing at Gu Jingze could be heard from the computer. But Gu Jingze was very calm, as if he couldn't hear him. Slowly, although his health dropped slowly, Li Mingyu still couldn't hold on. Lin Che hadn't even seen what Li Mingyu was trying to do, when Li Mingyu used a skill called Hook and pulled Li Mingyu, who was on the verge of escaping back. Damn! Li Mingyu's screams came from the computer. Then, on the screen, Li Mingyu's character fell to the ground. Dead. Li Mingyu's screams continued to echo. Gu Jingze, you pervert. Why did you kill me? Just you wait. Gu Jingze, what's the point of hiding behind Lin Che? If you have the guts, come out and let's fight openly. Seeing that you're a girl, I didn't want to kill you. If you have the guts, come out and play. Lin Che stared with his eyes wide open. Only now did he understand what a godly operation was. Every one of his movements was precise. His prediction of his opponent was precise as well. In an instant, he knew his opponent's intentions, remembered the cooldowns of his opponent's skills, and moved so elegantly that he dodged practically every attack from his opponent. Just now, Lin Che only felt that she was looking at his hands moving rapidly. In the face of an emergency, his hand speed made her feel confused. When Gu Jingze was focused, he looked crazy, but also very attractive. Lin Che let out a cry of surprise. He looked at Gu Jingze and said, "Ah, you're amazing." Gu Jingze turned around and said, "Wait, I'm done." Lin Che found it strange. What else did he want? Wasn't he already dead? Gu Jingze walked around and put a few things into his account. These were the 3 pieces of equipment that Li Mingyu had dropped. They were all unbounded equipment. He had dropped 3 at once because Gu Jingze had tortured him for too long. Lin Che exclaimed, "Wow, you knocked his equipment off. Wow, you're too amazing." She hugged Gu Jingze and kissed him. Not only did he kill him, but he also stole his equipment. Li Mingyu was probably going to die from anger. However, what was even more infuriating was yet to come. Next, Gu Jingze said directly, "Exchange for unbounded equipment. 3 of them. Change them to something that suits me. If you want it, message me privately. I'll give it to you if I like it." In an instant, the world went crazy. Everyone took a look. Hey, isn't this unbounded equipment from Demon Island Moonlit Night? Then Demon Island Moonlit Night scolded in the World Channel. "Just you wait. Don't let me see you again. I'll kill you every time I see you." Everyone came to a realization after guessing. This equipment was dropped. Demon Island Moonlit Night was killed. How did the hope of the village become so amazing all of a sudden? She could even kill a tycoon with an unbounded equipment. But just now, Rain in the World was going around saying how she killed the hope of the village. What the hell was going on here? Lin Che went offline satisfied. Seeing her phone ring, she knew that it was Li Mingyu. She snorted and didn't pick it up. She hugged Gu Jingze and said, "How did you do it? You're so amazing." Gu Jingze said, "I read the guide." Guff. All right. She had read the walkthrough before, but her hands and brain couldn't coordinate well. She couldn't do what she wanted, and she couldn't think of what she could do. In any case, her mechanics were still as bad as ever. Sure enough, some outstanding people would shine wherever they went. Lin Che said, "I think I know how to make games." Gu Jingze said, "How?" "Create conflict. Only when there's fighting will it be attractive. Let people fight and let everyone participate in it. Wherever there's gossip, there'll be people. Whether it's an entertainment industry or the gaming industry, it's all the same." Gu Jingze looked at her with a smile. As expected, this girl was also very perceptive. However, he wouldn't let her be so smug. He pinched her nose. "You're stupid. It's not that serious." Sigh. "Seriously, I'm a talented person too." Lin Che walked out with him. At the company, Yu Minmin called her and asked her if she was ready to make a comeback. Lin Che hadn't thought about it yet. The key was that she had been resting at home for a long time and hadn't been on TV for a long time. Thinking about it, once she made a comeback, it would mean that she would have to be on TV constantly. She was a little too lazy to move. However, she couldn't just stay at home all the time. She had to rely on one career to drive other careers. Lin Che said, "Sai, does the company still need me now? I've been gone for so long. I feel like the fans have forgotten about me again." Yu Minmin said, "If you don't come back soon, it's really possible." "What?" "Starlight recently has a new group. That coquettish female lead is the female lead of Glory that went up against our rainbow dress. She's been very popular recently. These few days, she said that she's going to attend some film festival and walk the red carpet. It looks like she's going to break into Hollywood and become an international movie star. She's in the limelight, and Starlight seems to be trying to crush us." Lin Che said, so unrestrained. "All right then, I'll make some preparations and see when and how to make a comeback." Other people wouldn't have made her so excited, but Starlight had greatly aroused her dissatisfaction. If Starlight crushed them, she would definitely be unhappy. Yu Minmin laughed. "Just you wait. I'll come up with a proposal for you tomorrow." Chapter 1156. Lin Che only answered Li Mingyu's call at night. Li Mingyu roared, "How dare you pick up my call, Lin Che?" Lin Che chuckled. "I didn't pick up because you kept nagging at me. That's why I picked up. What are you doing?" Li Mingyu said, "Just tell me if it was Gu Jingzi today. Why is it him? Can it be me?" "Of course not. If you were smart, you wouldn't have been beaten up so badly." "Huh. Only a pervert like Gu Jingzi could do something like that. Even try to kill me. Ha, childish." At this moment, he despised Li Mingyu for being childish. Didn't he see what childish things he had done? Li Mingyu was furious. He was having a good time in there, showing off and squandering. But he didn't expect that such an admirable god would be defeated by Gu Jingzi with just a few moves. Even his equipment had been sold by someone else. After that, even though Gu Jingzi had gone offline, everyone was still worshipping him. It was said that someone happened to pass by and recorded the scene of him getting beaten up. He posted the video on the forum. Immediately, someone took notice of Gu Jingzi and wanted to ask him who the village's hope was. They wanted to contact him and ask if he was interested in playing esports. How could Gu Jingzi be interested in playing esports? Their dream would never come true. But what made Li Mingyu angry was that everyone was saying that the village's hope was an almighty that was comparable to a professional esports player, and he was a clown that was being beaten up. "What the fuck? How could this be?" Lin Che said. "I didn't go up to play. How's it going now? The one who wanted to snatch the prize from you. The former #1 nouveau riche. Is he okay now?" "Ha, snatch what? I got it, of course." "You got it? Who did you give it to?" "Ah, I threw it away." "Did he throw it away after buying it for 2 million? Li Mingyu said proudly. "I was going to give it to you, but you ganged up with your husband to beat me up." "Humph, you don't have a share. I threw it away." "Duh." Lin Che said, "All right, I'll still congratulate you for getting it." The so-called #1 nouveau riche in the past was actually unlucky to have met someone like Li Mingyu. He wasn't an ordinary nouveau riche. He definitely wouldn't care about that little bit of money. In terms of money, they couldn't compare to him. Lin Che sighed and said to him, "Oh yeah, I have a preliminary idea about this game. I'll tell you about it when I go to your company next time." "All right, I'm free tomorrow. Come over." Lin Che couldn't help but admire Li Mingyu for setting up such a big company in such a short time. The building was well decorated, and it was full of employees. It didn't look like a company that had just moved here 2 months ago. After Lin Che entered, Li Mingyu was already waiting for him. Seeing Lin Che, Li Mingyu also said, "Wow, not bad. You're recovering so well." Lin Che said, "Cut the crap. Let's get straight to the point. I've never seen someone like you. You actually get angry when I praise you. Don't you see how excited other women are when I praise them? They were so little just so that I can praise them more. Look at you. Yeah, there are so many women waiting for you to praise them. I won't join the fun. It's about the game." Lin Che opened up his folder and said his idea. First, balance. Then, variety of content. Then, positioning must be accurate. Then, The fighting skills must be strong, and the resistance must be strong. Li Mingyu said, will it be hard for girls to like this? I still want to make a game for girls. When I open the game, it'll be full of women. Hey. We're making a game, not a harem. What women are you talking about? Also, you know too little about women nowadays. When girls play games these days, they have to play with strong resistance, okay? We also like violent characters. All right, with your skills, you're still a violent character. Get lost. However, Lin Che thought that it was necessary to lower the difficulty of the controls. It couldn't be as professional as Dota. At least it could be like LOL, where the controls were acceptable to both genders. Lin Che talked to him for a day. Li Mingyu immediately said, okay, I'm going to invest 200 million yuan. I'll start building a team for you tomorrow. Duh. Li Mingyu was really a classic example of doing what he said. He still had money. He didn't care about anything else. He didn't care if he would lose money. At most, he wouldn't make any money. The people were ready-made. He could just let her pick a few people from the company to do it. Lin Che said, okay, then I'll go and pick a few people. Li Mingyu immediately sent a director down and asked Lin Che to pick people with him. The director was very respectful to Lin Che, nodding and bowing as he followed behind. When she reached the HR department, she listened to the recommendation of the HR manager. She did pick a marketing team, but she still couldn't find a production team. She felt that the company's production team wasn't very good. Because they were too stubborn, they were definitely not as flexible as the outside world's ideas. Perhaps the production team would be too conventional. In that case, she wouldn't be weak. She should find a good team from the outside world that had stronger awareness and innovation. She made up her mind. She first met with the marketing team and said to everyone, hello everyone. I'm sure everyone knows who I am, so I won't introduce myself. In the future, there will be many opportunities for everyone to get to know each other. The director said, Miss Lin, this is the veteran of our marketing department, Chen Lanshan. Chen Lanshan looked like a proud person. She looked at Lin Che and felt that she was a celebrity. She was afraid that the CEO had ulterior motives for suddenly bringing her over to work on this. Was it okay for a flower vase to start a company and do business? Chen Lanshan was proud and arrogant, so she only smiled at her. Lin Che said, okay, Manager Chen, the first thing we need to do now is to come up with a name for our team. Since we're affiliated with your original company, we'll be doing this independently as a studio. You can brainstorm and come up with a good name for our team. Let's not talk about other things first. If anyone knows a game production team, you can recommend them to me. All right, meeting dismissed. Lin Che didn't say much, but it freed everyone up in an instant. It wouldn't be fun if they thought that she was going to shout slogans for the whole day. However, Lin Che was a practical person and didn't like to shout slogans. Moreover, she was busy and wanted to go home early to see her child. With that said, she left. The people behind watched as Lin Che left and said, looks like he didn't dawdle too much. That's good. Maybe he didn't want to do it seriously and was just playing around, so he didn't care. Hurry up and say a few words and leave. Leave it to us. If it's like this in the future, it's over. Chapter 11:57. That's right. Maybe our CEO wants to please her, so he gave her a project. She wants to get close to our CEO and cooperate with him on a project. Anyway, her love life has implicated us. Everyone laughed and looked at Chen Lanshan. We're all fine, except for Manager Chen. She was pulled from the food project to play with us. Chen Lanshan was still cold and aloof. She packed up the documents and left. The people in the company were also looking forward to Lin Che's return. They prepared for the whole day. Xinghui had been doing well recently, so they were a little worried. The company's competitiveness and reputation were growing day by day, and they had always been doing well in the industry. Although they were just a studio, they were not afraid of anyone. But it was impossible not to worry. There were a few newcomers from Xinghui. For Wu Yufei to be chosen as one of the little female stars. It was also extremely impressive. Because of the popularity of the popular IP, there were a lot of topics and exposure. They were followed by a newcomer group. Among them, the two most popular girls, one was said to be the current campus belle, and the other was said to be the most beautiful dancer. They immediately attracted a lot of attention. Yu Minmin knew that Xing Hui would soon send their team to the film and television festival. Mu Firen and the others would be participating. They had already been selected as the judges for the best online drama of the year. There was also an innovation award. The team would send a few of the main producers to participate. Actually, Lin Che was also one of the main producers, so Yu Minmin sent Lin Che along. It could be considered a direct comeback. Lin Che knew what Yu Minmin was thinking. This time, when the online drama became popular, she would appear with it. There would be more topics and more exposure. No matter what, she would be able to get some benefits from the online drama. Lin Che was going to another city to participate in the show. Gu Jingze couldn't bear to see her go, so he personally sent her to the airport. Lin Che walked out and put her arms around his neck. She tiptoed and looked at him. "I'll be back in 2 days. Okay, take care of yourself. Don't worry, take care of yourself too. Don't move your arms." It would take 100 days to recover from an injury. Although he looked much better, he still shouldn't use too much strength. Gu Jingze pulled her over and planted a wet kiss on her lips. It was very light, but his tongue had already gone in. After sucking on her lips for a while, he let go of her gently. Lin Che blushed, but Yu Minmin and Mu Firen didn't want to talk anymore. Nangonyu coughed dryly and turned his head away. Didn't they already have 2 children? How could they still be so affectionate after leaving for 2 days? Moreover, they were still alive. They were still watching. Such a direct, wet kiss. I can even see our tongues. Is this really all right? Gu Jingze obviously treated them like air and left right after he finished talking to Lin Che. Yu Minmin said, "Oh my God, Lin Che, do you still care about us?" Nangonyu said, "Nonsense. Maybe she still has it in her eyes, but Gu Jingze definitely doesn't. Let's go." Lin Che's face was red as he said, "What? It's just a kiss." Yu Minmin said, "You call that a kiss? That affectionate and selfless love. You can even see the tongue. It's too wet, too passionate too. It's definitely an X-rated experience, okay? It's not that obvious." Lin Che protested. "You must have seen wrongly. It's not that passionate." Mu Firen smiled and said, "All right, you were probably too engrossed just now and didn't notice. But it's true. President Gu's kiss was so wet, it's impossible for him not to be engrossed. We understand, so you don't have to explain. You're bullying me together. Ha 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 ha." The few of them chatted and laughed as they went to meet up with the others in the company. Just as they walked over, they saw Lin Che, whom they hadn't seen for a long time. The last time they saw her, her belly was already bulging. Now that she suddenly offered her body and stood with the other women, they couldn't help but feel amazed. She didn't look like she had just unloaded the cargo and gave birth. Her legs were still so slender, and her waist was still so soft and narrow. Needless to say, her face was still so fair and tender. When she waved her slender fingers, she looked like a goddess. Many women were envious of Lin Che's recovery speed after giving birth. Sister Che, you're back. Sister Che, you look like you're recovering really well. In other words, Sister Che, do you have any secret recipes?" Lin Che smiled helplessly. "I don't have any secret recipes." "What secret recipes?" She also felt that some female celebrities who were so good after giving birth must not have eaten when they were pregnant. She recovered so quickly. She was probably very cruel to herself. But even if she wanted to be cruel, Gu Jingze wouldn't let her be. It was true that she didn't go on a diet, nor did she exercise. She just slimmed down on her own. Perhaps it had something to do with her physique. Her absorption wasn't good, and no matter how much she ate, she would still poop it out. When she said that to Gu Jingze scolded her and told her not to talk nonsense. She said, "If you don't believe me, you can take my papa for a test. It's definitely no different from what you ate." Gu Jingze. Everyone was originally worried that Lin Che would be discovered to have given birth soon after giving birth. But from the looks of it now, their worries were all gone. She was no different from before. On the plane, everyone discussed their itinerary. They drove to the hotel to stay, then rushed to the venue after putting on makeup. However, they didn't expect to be surrounded the moment they got off the plane. The media already knew that Lin Shaye appeared at the Film and Television Festival with Mu Fearon's crew. The Film and Television Festival wasn't that important. It was a film and television festival organized by the Imperial Court. The judges were all people in the Imperial Court, not outsiders. So, many people felt that it was a big deal, and the audience didn't care about the results. In any case, they knew who was going to win the award. But this didn't stop them from watching their idol. So, there was still a lot of media chasing after them. All of a sudden, the airport was a little difficult to control. Many fans at the periphery followed the media when they saw the crowd. Wu Yufei and the others, who landed at the same airport, felt a little strange. Who's in front? There's so many people. It looks like Mu Fearon and the others. They're past their prime and are here to make up the numbers, the manager behind them said. Chapter 1158. Hearing this, Wu Yufei was a little worried. Brother Liang, is it really okay for us to come here together? Don't we have to take another route? Her manager, Liang Shan, was the #1 manager of Starlight. Starlight had specially poached him so that he could lead Starlight's artists. He didn't disappoint Starlight. Sure enough, he promoted a few newcomers and made Starlight famous in the industry. Liang Shan wasn't a kind person. He looked at Wu Yufei and said, "What are you afraid of? I already said that they are outdated. Why are you so afraid? You're still young, and you'll be more popular than them in the future. How can you be so afraid of an outdated female star? You're too timid. Be braver. Don't embarrass Starlight." Hearing this, Wu Yufei could only straighten her back and walk forward. Since her manager had said so, she could only go and take a shower. She was worried that the media would say that she was trying to gain popularity, so she didn't dare to come out together. However, Liang Shan didn't allow her to avoid it, so she could only bite the bullet and go forward. At this moment, as expected, the media spotted Wu Yufei. "Isn't that Wu Yufei?" "Oh, it's her." Everyone was watching, and Wu Yufei heard someone calling her name. She felt that she wouldn't lose by much. Liang Shan also shouted, "See? Mu Fearon is the one who should be afraid. What are we afraid of?" Mu Fearon saw Wu Yufei at a glance. She said to Lin Shaye beside her, "Did you see that? It's a small world." Lin Shaye looked and said to Mu Fearon, "Isn't there a saying that goes, 'It's not scary to wear the same clothes, it's the ugly ones who are afraid'? Our circle is like that. It's not scary to coincide. It's not scary to be popular." Lin Shaye said, "This is the time to test our popularity. We're not afraid." Mu Fearon smiled. Seeing the media coming, she said to Lin Shaye, who hadn't shown up for a long time, "Lin Shaye, where have you been? Guess." Lin Shaye smiled. The media said, "Some people guessed that you went to get married." "No, I didn't," Lin Shaye said. "Where did you go then?" Lin Shaye said, "Didn't I go to be a producer? I came back with my results today." "No, the fans don't believe it." Okay. What do they believe?" "I think you went to get married." "I really didn't. She had already been married a long time ago. Why would she still want to get married?" "Then you are." He, she is indeed with a man." When Lin Shaye said this, everyone exploded. Is she admitting to a relationship? Although there would be scandals every time she cooperated with others, and she even had a scandal with Gu Jingyu for a long time, she had never admitted to any of it. How could he admit his relationship now? Who? Are they in or out of the industry? Are you getting married? Are you going to give birth? The media immediately transformed into a group of Annies and started asking questions. Lin Shaye chuckled. "Well, it's still a secret for now. I can only say that I hope everyone can give me some freedom. I hope that I can happily date like an ordinary person. That's why I've been away for so long. Thank you, everyone." Announced their relationship. This was truly a killing machine. Although she only said that she was in love and didn't say who it was enough for the media to chase after her like crazy. It would definitely be on the headlines tomorrow. Lin Shaye was too explosive. The first thing she did after her comeback was to admit that she had a boyfriend. Everyone immediately started guessing, wondering who the boyfriend was. The media immediately started thinking about the possible candidates for her boyfriend. Everyone in and out of the industry had thought about it, but they really didn't have a definite answer. Because many of Lin Shaye's good friends in the industry were men and they were on good terms. It didn't seem like they would be together. Outside the industry, she had a lot of good friends. They looked pretty good, and some of them even confessed to her. But none of them seemed reliable. At this moment, Lin Che naturally didn't know that because of her casual words, the outside world was making wild guesses in a short but seemingly short period of time. She only smiled at everyone and apologized, saying that she had to leave first to get her makeup done. How could the media be willing to follow her? They chased after her like a long line all the way out of the airport gate. They didn't even look at Wu Yufei, who was behind them. Wu Yufei was swept past by the media. She stood there and felt a cold wind blowing past her. She was dumbfounded. No way. They didn't even see her. Wu Yufei was on the verge of tears. Brother Liang, my popularity is so low now. Is it because I haven't had enough exposure recently? Liang Shan didn't expect it either. He looked outside and asked, "Who is that?" "Brother Liang, it's Lin Che." "Ah, damn it." Liang Shan gripped his phone and gritted his teeth. This Lin Che. But after gritting his teeth for a long time, he could only put down his phone and say to Wu Yufei, "It has nothing to do with you. This Lin Che is poisonous." The industry was already convinced by Lin Che. She always had her own way of making her presence known. Once she appeared, she would definitely become the focus of the media. Was it because she had some kind of charm? Actually, there was. For a celebrity to be able to stay popular, it had nothing to do with her beauty. It was mainly because of her uniqueness. And Lin Che's, too, made many fans feel close, special, interesting, and humorous. Anyway, she was different from those flirtatious bitches out there. And Lin Che liked to make fun of herself. Sometimes, even if she didn't make fun of herself, others would like to make fun of her. She made fun of herself, and it made her look cute. Moreover, Lin Che was indeed pretty. And every time she appeared in a movie or television series, her acting skills were pretty good. She relied on her acting skills to speak and had such a unique personality. Naturally, she was popular. Liang Shan only felt that it was a pity. He had never met such a good artist in his life. But as an opponent, he hated this person to death. Damn it. Bad luck. Forget it, it's fine. Let's go on our way. Don't care about her. Liang Shan could only comfort Wu Yufei. You can't do anything about it. It has nothing to do with your popularity. It's just that you met Lin Che. It's not like you don't know that Lin Che is like this. Forget it. Let's go to the television festival. Wu Yufei could only cry. She had already said that she would go somewhere else. But now, no one cared about her. It was so embarrassing. The next time she met Lin Che, she really had to hide far away. When Lin Che got into the car and looked at the trending searches online, she realized that she had actually announced her relationship. Damn, when did I announce my relationship? I just said that I have a boyfriend. These people, the boyfriend candidates that they had chosen. Many of them had nothing to do with each other, okay. Chapter 1159. Mu Firen said, "That's enough. That's what they want. You said you were with a man, so of course they will say that you announced your relationship. Don't worry. They will ask you who you are until you tell them the truth." I didn't expect this to happen. She was really just saying it casually. She wasn't used to lying directly, so she always talked about him. Who knew this time? Mu Firen shook her head and said, "But the media threw Wu Yufei over there just now. I guess they're very upset now." Lin Che spread out his hands. "It's their fault for treating our studio like this. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to make enemies with them. It's them who chased after us for no reason. It's too annoying. Yeah, they don't care about their reputation to make money. The company I used to work for was the same." Mu Firen said with a sarcastic smile. Lin Che said, "It's okay. We care. You won't go back to that shabby place anymore." Mu Firen held hands with her. When Lin Che mentioned the trip in the near future, Mu Firen agreed immediately. However, Lin Che didn't say that he would bring Black Eagle with him. Hee. I'll explain it then. It'll be the same. Moreover, her intuition told her that Mu Firen would agree to go with Black Eagle. The awards at the film festival were all expected. However, when N.I. Shang went online, Lin Che went on stage with the main cast to receive the award. The host looked at Lin Che and asked a few more questions. Lin Che smiled and said, "This time, we are able to appear here with a new identity. Thank you everyone for your support. We will definitely perform better next season. The host said quickly, will you come back to film? Of course. I'll come back to the screen. Thank you, everyone. Lin Che didn't say much because he didn't want to steal everyone's screen time. Actually, none of them cared because they were all familiar with each other and didn't care about these things. Then, at the backstage celebration party, Lin Che sat at the same table as everyone and was receiving congratulations from many people. At this moment, Liang Shan also came over. Hey, Lin Che. Lin Che stood up and didn't know this person. On the side, Mu Firen said, it's Brother Liang, the famous agent of Fenghua in the circle. Although Lin Che had never seen him before, he had heard of him before. He smiled and said, Brother Liang, nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. Haha, I wanted to say hello to you at the airport, but there were too many reporters surrounding you, so I couldn't get past. Is that so? We didn't notice it when we came. Sorry. No, you guys are too popular. The media and fans are surrounding you. Of course we can't go in. Hee, you're too polite. Not at all. Come, Yufei, come over and get to know Senior. Senior Lin is so powerful. You must learn from him. Wu Yufei came forward and looked at Lin Che and Mu Firen nervously. Lin Che and Mu Firen looked at each other and greeted him with a smile. This was a direct introduction, a demonstration in front of him. Lin Che smiled and said, Well said. Haven't you guys been learning from us? Although we started 2 years earlier, we still have some experience. You can learn as much as you want and learn well. They had been imitating Lin Che's studio for a long time. Hearing what they said, Liang Shan did not feel unhappy at all. He still smiled and said, Is that so? That's a coincidence. However, Yufei will definitely learn from Senior. After all, she's still young and doesn't know anything. This is the disadvantage of being young. Sigh. She has to learn everything. Look, she's so scared when she sees a senior. Was he talking about age? Lin Che thought, sure enough, every generation is the same. She has played this trick a long time ago. She chuckled and said, Yes, learn well. I hope you can continue to be active when you're my age. Hearing this, Liang Shan narrowed his eyes and looked at her. How arrogant. However, she was right. She had been active for so many years, and she was still so active. That was not something an ordinary movie star could do. She was the only one left who came out at the same time as her. That meant one thing, that she had a high chance of becoming an A-list movie star. She would become a true heavenly queen. That was not something that could be decided by a movie queen award. Instead, she would become a true heavenly queen. Just like Mu Firen, she had been popular for more than 10 years. In the end, she left because she did not want to do it anymore. This was how many years later she would leave her name in history. At this moment, Liang Shan felt that if this kind of artist could not be used by him, it would be best to get rid of her as soon as possible. It was really troublesome now. It was not easy to get rid of her, and it was not something that could be done in a year or two if he wanted to surpass her. He took a deep look at Lin Che before leaving. Lin Che and the others checked into the hotel. At night, they saw that as soon as Lin Che appeared, he was immediately pulled up by the major news outlets. Lin Che's studio had already answered a few questions. They said that Lin Che's immediate plan was to continue filming a reality show. Their embarrassing tour was about to start filming soon. Then, they would slowly choose the script. That was the specific plan. As for the rest, they would think about it as they watched. When Lin Che announced the news of his comeback, the script had actually started to be sent to her email. However, Lin Che really did not have time to read so much. After staying here for a day, he had already received a few. Mu Firen looked at it and said, This is your first show. Choose carefully. Lin Che said, I'm still confused. I'll take my time to read it. At this moment, they heard a sound coming from outside. Lin Che said, It's already so late. What's going on outside? The place they were staying at was a resort hotel. So, they got a hotel villa to stay in. It was more comfortable for them to stay in the same villa. At this moment, a sound came from outside, and they saw a car driving up to the door. Lin Che said in surprise, Who is it? At this moment, the person outside had already gotten out of the car and knocked on the door. He looked down and saw that it was the Black Eagle. Why was the Black Eagle here? Lin Che naturally understood that it was all for Mu Firen, but what was he doing? Lin Che opened the door and said, "What are you doing?" The Black Eagle said, "Didn't you say you're going on a holiday? I checked your schedule. You're leaving today, and you can stay for a week. Choose a place and let's go." Damn, they were leaving now? Was there something wrong with him? You. How could you check her schedule so casually? Their schedules were all at the company. How'd he find out? It was obvious that he had sent someone to the company to interrogate them. Mu Firen was also very surprised. Mr. Mo is going too? Lin Che turned around and said, "Don't look at me." He insisted on coming. Chapter 1160. Ying said, "Lin Che asked me to pay for it." Lin Che was stunned. This Ying was really good at pretending. However, looking at Mu Firen, she could only smile and say, "Firen, it's okay. We can't refuse someone who is willing to pay for it. Let's go. Since they're here, let's pack up and leave." Mu Firen still wanted to ask what was going on, but Lin Che had already turned around and pulled Mu Firen inside. They told the company that they wouldn't go with the team and would go on a vacation. Nangonyu glanced at the car outside and chuckled. He said sourly, Good. They abandoned us just like that. I was wondering who it was. It turns out that a big shot has come to pick us up." Lin Che said, "Go on. I'll introduce a big shot to pick you up if you're capable." Okay. Wait for me here when you're done." Buff. Mu Firen laughed. Nangonyu said, Okay. I don't care if it's a big shot. Okay. Take a picture of but first, and I'll help you see if anyone likes it." "Okay. You're too picky." Mu Firen couldn't stand it anymore. Nangonyu was still glaring at her with his arms crossed. Seeing that Ying was here to pick Mu Firen up, the other people in the company understood immediately. As the Black Hawk had been chasing after Mu Firen for a long time, they were already used to it. They just sighed when they saw the Black Hawk leave and stood there watching the two goddesses leave. Lin Che and Mu Firen sat in Ying's car. Ying asked them to choose a place, but Lin Che didn't have any idea. He just wanted to match Ying with Mu Firen. Ying said directly, "Let's go to the island. I know a good island." "Okay, since you're the one who pays the most, we'll go wherever you want." Lin Che chuckled. Although he wasn't sure of money, it still felt good to cheat people of their money. Lin Che called Gu Jingze, and they met up on the coast of the South Sea. After waiting on the beach for a long time, he saw a ship sailing directly towards him. Damn it. It looks a little weird. Lin Che looked at the Black Hawk. "Is this a cruise ship?" Ying glared at her. "Why do you care what it is as long as it can send you there?" Lin Che felt that something was wrong. Why did the cruise look different from the ones she had taken in the past? The size was the same, but it looked tough on the outside. At this moment, a voice came from behind. "This is a warship." It was Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze had just gotten out of the car. He was looking ahead and walking over. When Lin Che saw Gu Jingze, he was pleasantly surprised at first. Then, he immediately thought of what Gu Jingze had said. "What the hell? Warship?" Lin Che said, Hey. Why did you get warship? This one is fast." Black Hawk said indifferently. "Let's go." It wasn't easy to get them. "Isn't it to shorten the time we have to go? Where are the children?" Gu Jingze said, "We're almost there." Right after he said those words, he saw Yin, and the newborn top being brought over. Lin Che immediately walked over to pick up the child. When Yin saw the warship in front, he immediately came over. "Isn't this a warship?" Black Hawk said. "How about it? Do you want to drive it?" Gu Xinyan nodded immediately. Lin Che shouted from behind, "No, it's so dangerous." Black Hawk said, "Don't worry. It's not dangerous at all. The radar detects reefs. There aren't any reefs along the way. Don't worry." I said no means no. Do you still want to go or not? Lin Che glared at Black Hawk, his eyes burning. Black Hawk could only put his hands on his hips and give up in disdain. He hugged Gu Xinyan and said, "Forget it. We'll go find Uncle next time. Uncle has a lot of good stuff." "No," Lin Che said immediately. Yin, don't play with your uncle." Black Hawk was speechless. "What's wrong with me?" Lin Che narrowed his eyes and glared at him. "What's wrong with you?" He was so unreliable, yet he still dared to say anything. He didn't care about anything. There were so many dangerous things. How could he let Nian Yin pass? Gu Xinian looked at Black Hawk deeply and didn't say anything. Gu Jingzhen naturally saw it, but he didn't care about him. He went over to take the child and said, "Let's go." The group walked to the ship. No, to the warship. Lin Che took a look. The warship was huge. On it, there were soldiers. Naturally, warships weren't allowed to be driven out unless there were active personnel on board. Lin Che couldn't help but ask, "Hey, how did you get such a thing to bring us along?" Black Hawk said, "There weren't any other ships at the moment, so I asked someone to borrow one." He was really shameless to a certain extent. Lin Che thought that he really wanted to see how he usually borrowed things from people next time. Why was it that people were so generous to him, lending him things just like that? And it was also his attitude that made it impossible for people not to borrow things. Behind them, Gu Jingze said leisurely, "This ship is so well equipped. You borrowed Navy 387 ship." Black Hawk said, "Yeah." Gu Jingze said, "You borrowed it directly from Commander-in-Chief Liu?" "Yeah." Lin Che said, "Who's that?" Gu Jingze said, "Commander-in-Chief." Lin Che rolled his eyes. This Black Hawk was really bold. Black Hawk said, We're old friends. He knows that I won't break it. It's just one person. Also, I said that I'm bringing your wife and child out. Isn't it safer to bring a warship and an army?" Gu Jingze's face darkened. "I'll tell him next time. Don't listen to your nonsense." "Am I not telling the truth?" Gu Jingze couldn't be bothered with him. He said to Nian Yin, "Don't play with Uncle next time." Very good. He finally felt that way. Nian Yin looked up at Black Hawk. He felt that he was quite impressive. It was his first time on a warship, and it felt different. As expected, it was much faster. They arrived at the island directly. There was only a small town on the island. It was a tourist attraction with many people. They arrived at a resort that he had booked. When they entered, there was no one. Lin Che was still muttering, "The resort is so quiet." "Black Hawk, did you choose the right place?" Black Hawk looked up at her. "What's wrong? I purposely chose the resort with the most people. Then why is there no one here?" "I saw that there were too many people. I was afraid that you guys would find it noisy, so I chased them away." Bandits. Lin Che felt that she couldn't understand Black Hawk's thinking anymore. She had never seen such a stubborn person. Why did he think of everything differently from others? Chapter 1161. In fact, when everyone first saw Black Hawk, they really felt that he was very scary. Now, in the eyes of outsiders, he was still a terrifying person. However, in their eyes, the Black Hawk was very different from what they had imagined. Right now, he should belong to the category of a strange young man of few words, but extremely domineering. No one knew what was going on in his head. This was too different from the others. Sometimes it was so strange that people found it cute. Sometimes it was so strange that it made people feel helpless. However, this bandit-like vigor was really strange. Why was he so good at snatching other people's things? Moreover, he was really extravagant when doing things. It was easy for him to exaggerate things. Lin Che exclaimed, "What? You chased them away?" The Black Hawk said, "Isn't that safer?" Lin Che wanted to remind him that when they walked down the pier from the warship, the expressions of the passers-by were already very exaggerated. How much longer does he want to continue exaggerating? Lin Che really wanted to say, "Forget it. You can do whatever you want with Mu Firen. I can't take it anymore. I want to go back." Gu Jingze looked around and said, "Forget it. I've already driven them away. Let's stay here." Black Hawk said, "This hotel is really good. It's right by the sea. You'll see it in a moment. Let's go in." After all, it was Black Hawk. The hotel they booked was indeed very big and good. There was a 2-story villa at the entrance. Lin Che and Gu Jingze stayed in one, Mu Firen and the child stayed in the other, and Black Hawk stayed in the other. Haiying was talented in this aspect. He asked Lin Che to live far away from Gu Jingze and stayed close to Mu Firen's villa. At the door, he smiled and said, "You two are making too much noise. Let's stay away." Lin Che rolled his eyes and thought to himself, "Aren't you worried that we'll be too bright and affect your performance?" Although they said so, Lin Che and Gu Jingze naturally wouldn't really be the third wheel. Lin Che used the baby carrier to carry the baby in his arms. Seeing this, Gu Jingze walked over and said to Lin Che, "Let me do it." Lin Che looked at him in surprise. Why, you're going to carry this? She couldn't imagine what Gu Jingze would look like with this on his back. Lin Che said, forget it. I'll carry it." "No need," Gu Jingze said as he pulled up the strap. Lin Che giggled as he looked at him and said, "This doesn't look very good on your back. It will definitely affect your masculinity." Gu Jingze squinted at her. "Cut the crap." He lowered his head to look at the child in his arms and said to her, "It doesn't matter. It's my child anyway. If I don't carry it, who else will carry it? As for masculinity, that's something I know for myself. It's not for others to see." He lowered his head and whispered into her ear, "Whether I have masculinity or not, it's enough for you to know." Lin Che's ears turned red from his blowing. He reached out and punched him. "Go to hell." Gu Jingze smiled faintly and hung the baby on his back. Lin Che felt really embarrassed. She felt that this was really not suitable for him. He was such a tall man, but he was carrying a pink baby sling. She felt that it was too difficult for him. As the dignified CEO Gu, she felt embarrassed for him to carry this. However, Gu Jingze said he didn't care. Some men would avoid this kind of thing, even a baby's, but he was so calm about it, so proactive. She smiled as she looked at him. Since he didn't think it was bad, she would give it a try. She helped him loosen the sling a little and fasten it from the back. Because he was too tall and his shoulders were very broad, the sling had to be loosened to the maximum. After much difficulty, he held the child's head with one hand. His movements were very gentle, and his posture was also very professional. Because ever since the child was born, he had never avoided carrying the child. He would carry the child every day, so of course he was no stranger to these actions. Now that he was standing there, Lin Che saw something that she had never thought of before. So handsome. Was it because a person was good-looking? Did he really look good no matter what? She thought that such a pink sling would affect his handsomeness, but it didn't at all. On the contrary, not only did it not make him look strange, but it also gave him a sense of beauty. The feeling of a stay-at-home dad was strong and impactful. He carried the child high up on his back. The little baby looked even smaller in his strong arms, and it made his father's image more distinct and tall. Everyone who saw it was envious of the child in his arms, which made them feel that the child was extremely safe. Gu Jingze said, "Okay, let's go." Lin Che blinked and looked at the man who was always showing off his looks in amazement. For a moment, she was even more infatuated with him and nodded vigorously. She followed him and said, "Yes, let's go." Really, she had been worried for nothing. Now it seemed that she didn't need to worry at all. Since he was so suitable to take care of the child, she would let him carry the child on the streets in the future. She sighed, but her eyes couldn't help but stare at him. When they went outside, Mu Firen and He Ying also came out together. He Ying was riding on He Ying's neck. When He Ying saw that Gu Jingze actually carried the baby on his back, he couldn't help but be stunned. However, although the way Gu Jingze carried the baby was amazing, he had to admit that it seemed very harmonious. Such a scene made Black Hawk sigh. A man should be at his most handsome and powerful when he was at his most handsome and at his most powerful. He was willing to give up his strength for the woman he loved, and he was willing to become a qualified father for his child. This was his most powerful moment. He Ying sighed and clicked his tongue in his heart. He wondered what magic Lin Che had to make such a powerful Gu Jingze willing to be a little man by her side. However, looking at Lin Che, he really felt that it was worth it. After all, she was his sister. She was beautiful, had a good figure, and the key was her character. It was better to find an interesting woman than a beautiful woman. And Lin Che was a beautiful and interesting woman. No wonder Gu Jingze was so considerate and nice to her. The group of people went out, and it was a beautiful scenery outside. By the sea, Lin Che and Mu Firen went to change clothes. After putting on their swimsuits, Mu Firen looked at Lin Che with a smile and said, "Your figure really doesn't look like a woman who has just given birth to a child." Lin Che said, "Really? I still feel a little empty. Your skin is very tight. It doesn't feel like it's going to burst at all." When I gave birth to Yin, it took a long time for it to slowly recover. Sigh, you're still young after all. Firen was a few years older. Although it was only a few years, she could still feel the obvious difference. Lin Che said, "How is it young? You can even act as a 16-year-old girl. How can you say that others are young?" "Of course, I'm impressed by your skin. It's as tight as porcelain. Hee, Gu Jingze is really lucky." Chapter 1162. Firen rubbed against him and even touched his body. "Hey you." Lin Che went up and touched Firen. Firen's skin was smooth and tender, and it was well maintained. Firen dodged shyly. Lin Che sighed and said, Really, such a good body is going to be slept by someone else. If I were a man, I would definitely not let you off. It's a pity that I have so many ways to flirt with girls. Why am I a woman?" "Oh, you." Firen cried and hurriedly avoided him. "Oh, someone is going to be gay." The two of them laughed and walked out of the room. Along with the cheerful laughter that sounded like silver bells, a few people outside saw Lin Che and Firen walking in like two young girls, laughing and joking around. Lin Che was wearing an orange-red swimsuit. It was a tube top and a pair of swimming trunks. It was simple and elegant, but it accentuated her tender and fair skin. Not everyone could control the orange-red color, but it seemed that every piece of clothing had its place on her body. Any color on her body could be used to set off her beauty. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes and looked at her with full attention, but he didn't notice that He Ying's eyes had already dimmed. Firen thought it was the first time that he saw Firen like this. For a moment, he forgot why he had spent a night with her. He was a little confused that night, so he didn't remember anything else. Looking at her now, he turned his gaze and looked at Lin Che. His sister was indeed pleasing to the eye. Before he knew it, he didn't want to look at her. He said that she was a star, but it had nothing to do with him. But now that he knew she was his sister, things were different. She was beautiful no matter how he looked at her. He said tsk, "Gu Jingze, how could you be so lucky to marry my sister?" Gu Jingze glared at him, but his eyes softened when he looked at her. "God knows that no one can protect such a beautiful life except me. That's why I met her." What the Heying almost choked. Was this Gu Jingze? She didn't expect this guy to be so shameless, even though he looked cold. She was so jealous that her teeth almost fell out. No wonder Lin Che was completely fooled by him. However, it seemed like Gu Jingze was completely fooled by Lin Che. That was why he had changed so much. If anyone had known that Gu Jingze was so protective and biased toward his wife, Lin Che would have long become the #1 prey of those hunters. However, Gu Jingze protected Lin Che too well. Lin Che kept a low profile, as if he had nothing to do with Gu Jingze, which made her feel much safer. Gu Jingze had already stood up and walked over. She stood with Lin Che and said, "Let's go and play in the water." The Black Hawk had already arrived at Firen's side. "Aren't you going into the water?" Firen looked at him and asked with a smile. Black Eagle looked at her from head to toe. Firen felt a little hot under his dark gaze, and she wanted to avoid his gaze. But he couldn't avoid it. Black Hawk glanced at it and moved away. Then he looked ahead and said, "Let's go into the water." "Then why didn't you? We don't have to go through the trouble of changing clothes." As Black Hawk said this, he directly pulled off his shirt. Firen's words were stuck in her throat, and she just looked at Black Hawk. The blue casual shirt he was wearing was pulled off a little by the car. Then he neatly pulled it off his head and threw it on a chair. He wasn't wearing anything underneath. His scar body was naked under the sun. Then he pulled off his belt. He unbuckled the belt with his hands and said, "I wore it before I came here." Did he do it on purpose? He was trying to seduce her by stripping. Firen watched him pull off his pants with one hand, and then he took off his pants little by little. Lin Che looked at the mermaid line on his body and watched the lines appear little by little. No, what on earth was she looking at? He took off his pants to the very bottom, smiled faintly, and stepped on his pants. He turned back to look at Firen and raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of dazzling pride in his sharp eyes, which made her blush even more. Firen looked at him and didn't dare to take a closer look at him. She hurriedly tried to avoid him, but unexpectedly, she heard Black Hawk say, "Hey, wait a minute." Mufirin looked at him in surprise. Black Hawk's body suddenly moved closer to her. His masculine breath, with the unique heat of a man, approached her in an instant. Mufirin only felt his face move closer, and his lips were about to touch her face. She was so scared that she quickly closed her eyes. She could only feel his scent lingering in her nose, but he didn't really move closer to her. She was stunned, but then she heard his warm voice in her ear. He whispered softly, "There's something on your hair." Then, with a movement of her hair, he pulled something off. So was this. She opened her eyes at once and saw that he was looking at her playfully. For a moment, Mufirin felt that her face was burning as if it was about to explode. What was more embarrassing was that when she opened her eyes, what she saw was none other than one of the two red dots on his chest. His pectoral muscles were very big, but it didn't affect the dazzling red dot on it. If she moved again, it seemed that she would touch it. It was too ambiguous. She didn't dare to look at him again and said directly, "I'm going out." With that, she ran directly into the water. "Hey," he cried, but it was too late to stop her. Mufirin jumped into the water with a splash. The water spread, and she seemed to feel a little better. However, before she could get used to it, the waves were too big, and suddenly the swimsuit she was wearing was washed away by the waves and fell to the ground. Mufirin exclaimed and hurriedly tried to catch it. At this moment, with a splash, water splashed everywhere. Black Hawk, who had heard the cry for help, had jumped directly into the water. With a splash, he swam over smoothly and handsomely and came directly to Mufirin. "What's wrong?" He carried Mufirin in his arms. Looking down, he only saw two shiny meatballs floating in the water. His eyes felt warm, but he immediately understood something. Looking back, he saw that there were other people on the shore looking at them curiously. He directly blocked Mufirin, turned back and shouted at the people on the shore, "If anyone dares to look at us again, I'll dig out your eyes." Chapter 1163. When the people on the shore saw this, they sighed. Wasn't it just a glance? Why was he so fierce? Moreover, they didn't see clearly what was happening here. However, everyone was still very curious. After all, they had heard the woman scream. But now, they could only see the graceful figure of a woman hanging on the man's body. Her soft skin was soaked in seawater, making it look even more delicate and smooth. The man's strong body looked very tough. Therefore, he didn't look flustered at all when he hugged the woman in the seawater. However, when Black Eagle turned around and saw that everyone was still looking in their direction, his gaze turned cold. His eyes, which were originally cold, were now filled with a cold gleam. Like a cold iron, it flashed coldly, and everyone who saw it couldn't help but turn around. They couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. It was as if they saw a deadly murderous intent in those eyes. This was the Black Eagle who had regained his ferocious look. Naturally, it was different from when he faced Mufirin and Lin Che. Mufirin seemed to have noticed it too. Looking at him like this, she couldn't help but think that this was the Black Eagle that everyone was afraid of. However, he wasn't afraid at all in front of them. Seeing that everyone had turned around, Black Eagle regained some of his composure. He hugged Mufirin in his arms and said, "Don't worry, no one is looking." Mufirin felt very at ease when he blocked her forcefully. She wasn't worried at all. However, while she heaved a sigh of relief, she suddenly thought of something. She looked down. More than half of her breast pads had fallen off, and her whole chest was stuck to his naked body. The feeling of skin contact was different from touching through clothes. That feeling was hot and a little pleasurable. It was as if she had been electrocuted, and sparks appeared in her eyes instantly. Mufirin screamed again and let go of his shoulders at the same time. There was a splash. She fell into the water again. This time, she drank a few mouthfuls of salty seawater. She choked and coughed continuously. Mufirin screamed, and the Black Hawk hurriedly grabbed Mufirin. This time, Mufirin couldn't make a sound. She could only instinctively hold on to his neck. His face turned purple, and he coughed heavily as if he couldn't breathe. He Ying's face turned cold. Let's go. I'll take you to the infirmary first. Mu Firen couldn't be bothered to nod her head anymore. She just kept coughing. Black Eagle looked sharply at the people on the shore, who still wanted to watch curiously. Someone, chase these people away from me. Don't leave a single one alive. Dig out the eyes of those who open their eyes. Black Hawk ordered sternly. On the other side, his men all turned their heads. Before they realized who had opened their eyes, they had already run away quickly. Seeing that Black Hawk had so many people with him, no one dared to be presumptuous. They all put away their curiosity and quickly left. Although it was strange, and he didn't know who was playing so enthusiastically here, his eyes were still more important. Lin Che and Gu Jingze quickly realized that something was wrong. However, just as Lin Che was about to go over, Gu Jingze pulled him back. Wait! Gu Jingze pulled Lin Che back and signaled with his eyes for them to leave first. Only then did Lin Che notice that Black Hawk was holding Mu Firen horizontally, and Mu Firen's clothes were hanging down. With her back facing them, they naturally couldn't see what had happened to Mu Firen. However, Lin Che had just changed clothes with her. Thinking back, he knew that Mu Firen's swimsuit had fallen off. In other words, at this moment, the two of them. Lin Che blushed and shouted, "Oh, Black Hawk is really." Gu Jingze said, "It seems that they have gone to the infirmary. We'll go there later." He okay. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze, who was holding the child. Really, his eyes were very useful. He was indeed Gu Jingze. In the infirmary, Black Hawk shouted directly, "Male doctors get out. Female doctors stay." Duh. The people in the room were stunned at first, seeing Mu Firen being carried in, and then looking at Black Hawk's expression, they immediately walked out. The female doctor who stayed looked at Black Hawk in a daze, trembling with fear. When Black Hawk put her down and saw that no one came over for a long time, he raised his head and shouted angrily, "What are you looking at? Hurry up and treat me." Only then did the doctor tremble all over and run over. "Miss, how are you?" "Miss, let go and let me see." Mu Firen covered her face. She didn't want to see anyone at all. Oh my God, what had she done? She just wanted to see Mo Jinyin take off his clothes. How did she end up in the infirmary? She was so thirsty that she couldn't help blushing and racing when she saw him take off his clothes, but now that she thought about it, her heart was beating even faster. Feeling that the doctor was even more worried, she opened her eyes and looked at the doctor. I'm fine. It's just that I choked and my throat is a little sore." The doctor said hurriedly, "Then let me take a look." Finally, he checked and found that he really just choked. Then the doctor heaved a sigh of relief. Black Hawk was still looking at her. After putting on her clothes, she lay there, her whole body glowing red. He stood there and looked at her. He couldn't help but think of just now, when her two lumps of flesh pressed against him. After a while, he saw Gu Jingze and Lin Che come in. "What's wrong?" Gu Jingze was still holding the baby in his arms. He looked as handsome as ever. The female doctor who was left behind was instantly attracted by this scene. So was the young nurse. She looked at him tenderly, looking like she was infatuated. Mu Firen was too embarrassed to say anything. She looked up and said, "I'm fine. I just choked on my saliva." Lin Che's eyes darted back and forth between the two of them. The ambiguous look in his eyes made Mu Firen feel even more embarrassed. It was too scary. Okay, let's go," Mu Firen said and jumped down quickly. Just then, the baby in Gu Jingze's arms suddenly started crying. Lin Che was stunned and said hurriedly, "What's wrong with the baby?" Gu Jingze lowered his head and coaxed the baby. He shook it, but the baby was still crying. The doctor said hurriedly, "Did he pee?" Lin Che said, "Maybe." She went over to help Gu Jingze take the baby. Seeing this, the doctor and nurse hurried over to help. They also wanted to take a closer look at Gu Jingze. God, Gu Jingze looked even more handsome at such a close distance. He was so handsome that he had no flaws. No matter how they looked at him, he was handsome. Lin Che changed diapers very quickly. Seeing that the baby had really peed, he quickly changed the baby's diaper and hugged the baby. Gu Jingze looked at it and took it again. "Let me do it." The doctor and nurse's eyes were filled with tears. What a caring father. Award notification. The winners of the New Year's event have been announced in the comment section. The 2 winners haven't contacted me yet. The note says that they will receive the award. Hurry up and contact me to receive the award. I'm still on the road. That's all for today. Chapter 1164. The little nurse looked at Gu Jingze, her eyes twinkling. She kept looking in his direction. Those childish eyes were filled with love and adoration. Lin Che was speechless. All right, another Gu Jingze fangirl. After carrying the child, the 2 of them left. Outside, Mu Firen still didn't dare to speak. Lin Che followed Gu Jingze from behind. She looked up from time to time at Gu Jingze, who was carrying the child, feeling very warm. Lin Che picked up her phone, pointed it at him, and took a picture. Click, and the picture froze on the way he turned to look at her. The child on top of him was still so cute. This picture was really beautiful. Gu Jingze frowned. What are you taking a picture of? Lin Che said, just taking a picture. It's not like it's a big deal. Gu Jingze snatched the phone from her and looked at it. When he looked at the picture, he frowned and said, delete it, delete it. He wasn't used to taking pictures, so he looked weird. No, I want to keep it. Lin Che refused, of course. Gu Jingze said, no, you can't do this. I want to keep it as a phone screen. That way, I can see you every day. As expected, Gu Jingze stopped. He looked at her and said, really? Lin Che nodded vigorously and quickly took the phone to set it up. After setting it up, his image became the phone screen. He admired it for a while, nodded, and said, not bad. He kept it just like that, How Tsundere. Lin Che looked at his back and couldn't help but smile. But looking down at the phone screen, she felt that it was indeed very suitable. Under the sunlight, his look seemed to go up another level. He was really good looking. It was like a fresh cover photo. When the child was taking an afternoon nap, she handed him over to the servant. When Lin Che walked into the room, he immediately saw Gu Jingze standing in front of the window, looking outside. He wasn't wearing any clothes and looked like a statue. Every line of his body was exquisite and smooth without a single flaw. He was simply a work of art. Lin Che was a little dazed. When he turned back, his lips curled into a smile. Wipe your saliva, he said. Lin Che abruptly reached out his hand to touch it, then took a step inside, chuckling as he said, what? My man, if I want to look, then I'll look. If I want to drool, then I'll drool. Grabbing onto his chest, she began to grope him scrupulously. Wow, it feels so good, she sighed her heart. Gu Jingze couldn't help but pull her into his arms. He lowered his head, and their eyes met. He looked at her, and she looked back at him. Gu Jingze's voice was low and hoarse. You're playing with fire. Then, he tightened his grip on her chest. She whimpered. He bit her lips harshly and pushed her onto the bed in an instant. He had been trying his best to suppress it and not let her feel pain, but he couldn't care less at this moment. At this moment, his body was like a beast that had broken out of its cage. He just wanted to tear the thing in front of him to shreds. However, when he was breaking through the last layer, he stopped slightly. He propped himself up and looked at the beautiful flowers below him, panting uncontrollably. Will it hurt? He was still worried. Lin Che shook his head. His face was red, and his body was already covered in a thin layer of sweat. She looked at him. You don't dare to. You don't want to. He tapped her lips. I don't dare to. She actually felt a little awkward. She looked at him and thought about the child. He had personally delivered the child, and that feeling must be very different. However, he had also seen the most terrifying scene. She was worried that after seeing it, he wouldn't like her and would feel uncomfortable. He would not have her anymore. Wouldn't he think about that scene again when he looked at her body? Lin Che said in a low voice, I heard that after a man enters the delivery room, he won't want a woman anymore. Why? He frowned, not understanding. Because it's scary. Yeah, it's very scary. That's why. I don't dare to hurt you. He propped himself up on the bed with one hand and stroked her hair with the other. He looked at her pitifully, feeling that she was very fragile and that she would break if he touched her. Lin Che looked at his face. But don't you feel that you don't want me anymore? Why? His brows furrowed even more. She said, "Because there's so many good-looking women, so many beautiful bodies, so many fair and tender little beauties. He was such a high and mighty person. If he wanted them, he would be like those doctors and nurses today. Wouldn't they all rush to meet such beauties?" However, she had given birth to 2 children for him. Sometimes, she would lose confidence and wonder if she had become uglier. Gu Jingzhou was even more unhappy. He covered her mouth with his finger and looked at her. "I won't allow you to say that again." Lin Shay looked at him. He looked at her body and moved his lips down, bit by bit from the top down. His lips and teeth were reluctant to part, leaving little marks on her body. Feeling her unbridled panting, he increased his strength, following along her smooth body, wetting a path. "You never knew how beautiful you are." He sighed and sucked on her greedily. She couldn't help but sigh, and her body trembled. He said, "There's no one more beautiful than you." His voice lingered in her ears, as if it was hypnotizing. She was getting more and more intoxicated. "After seeing you, there's no more beautiful scenery in the world. You haven't seen yourself, so you don't know." In the end, he moistened her entire body. She was so shocked that she screamed, but he didn't let go of her and kept eroding all her senses. Words of love in bed were incomparably tempting. However, Gu Jingzhou was speaking from the bottom of his heart. That was what he was thinking when he looked at her. She was so beautiful like an abyss. If one fell into it, they would never be able to get out. Whether it was the beauties on the cover or the beauties on the beach, he felt that they were not as good as Lin Shay. No one was as good as Lin Shay, because her body was really too beautiful. He felt that he would never get tired of looking at her for the rest of his life. The room was full of love, and outside, Mu Firen was sitting there looking at the waves because she was blushing. Just then, a few people came over. They seemed to be from Country C. They recognized Mu Firen at first sight. "That's Mu Firen, right?" "Yes." "Sigh, she's here alone. I'm so lucky. Let's go and have a look." Chapter 1165. Mu Firen was sitting there. A few men in swimming trunks walked over and surrounded her. They were all naked. They were all looking at Mu Firen. "Hey, it's really Mu Firen, isn't it? Huh, we actually met a celebrity here." Mu Firen stood up. She felt a little uncomfortable looking at these half-naked men, so she smiled and was about to leave. The men immediately chased after her. "Mu Firen, don't run. Why don't you take a photo after seeing her?" Mu Firen smiled and looked at the men. "It's not convenient. Let's take a photo next time." Her meaning was very clear. She looked at them and said, "Let's take a photo with our clothes on." The men looked at her and chuckled. "It's okay. It's just a photo." "Yeah, you celebrities take off your clothes for no reason. Yeah, you take off your clothes in front of the photographer. Why would you care about others taking off their clothes? Why don't you try taking off your clothes too?" Mu Firen's face darkened. She was a little unhappy. Looking at these men, she knew that she wouldn't get any benefits from them, so she just smiled and prepared to leave. However, if they were alone, they might have felt embarrassed and left. However, since there were so many people together, everyone bolstered their courage and began to tease each other. It was as if whoever retreated now would lose his guts and face. "Hey, don't run. Let's take a photo. Or we can shake hands. Yeah, look at us. Which one of us isn't strong? Don't you want to try?" "Ha ha." They laughed as if it was very interesting. However, Mu Firen, who was being teased, didn't find it interesting at all. She only felt that they were really disrespectful and treated her as a toy and a joke. The men didn't know that and continued to chase her. Mu Firen couldn't take it anymore and said, "That's enough. Sorry, I'm not interested. Get out of the way. I'm leaving." With that, Mu Firen pushed one of them away and ran out. "Aya," she ran away. "Hurry up and chase her. Help me chase her. I'll get a big red packet today." The few of them immediately laughed and chased after him as if it was a joke. Mu Firen had only taken a few steps before she was chased back. She was grabbed by the hand and dragged to the ground. They were dragged to the bottom of the stairs. The few of them looked at the man and said, "We've caught him. You go." "Io, you don't dare, right? Come on. I'll give you a big red packet if you do." When a man saw so many people egging him on, he felt embarrassed to back down. It was as if retreating was admitting defeat. Looking at her, then looking at his surroundings, he mustered up his courage and said to himself, "If I die, then so be it. Dying under a peony flower. Even if I become a ghost, I'll still be romantic." Then he shouted, "Motherfucker, come at me." Then he rolled up his arms and pounced forward. The men at the side didn't seem to think it was illegal at all, and they even cheered along. Seeing this, Mufirin felt a little desperate. She looked to the side and pushed the man who was pouncing on her in a panic. However, she couldn't beat a man with her figure. Therefore, for a moment, he felt a heavy weight pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to turn around. At this critical moment, in a moment of desperation, she turned around and pulled up something to hit the man's head. A stone directly hit the back of the man's head. The man grimaced and got up screaming. He turned around and covered his head with his hand. "Blood! Blood!" With a cry, he fell to the ground with a thud. The men were instantly stunned. After a long while, someone finally mustered up the courage to reach out and feel for his breath. He's not breathing, he's dead. He's dead. Murder, murder!" The men shouted at once. Mufirin looked down at the man, and then at the stone in her hand that was stained with blood. There was still some residue on the stone, and it was obvious that she had hit him very deeply. The stone in her hand fell to the ground, and her heart was instantly filled with darkness. Murder? She killed someone? She got up and retreated. The men thought that Mufirin was going to run away, so they shouted fiercely, "You want to run? No way. Quick, arrest her. She's the murderer." The men came over together and let Mufirin shout, "It's not me. It's not me." But they still walked out of the police station while twisting their bodies. Meanwhile, Mufirin's mind was completely blank. She had no idea what had happened to her. When she reached the police station, her face was full of fear and no other emotions could be seen. She didn't know how to answer the police officer's questions, so she just sat there with a pale face and shook her head. Did she kill someone? Did she really kill someone? This was the first time in her life that she had been so afraid. The police officers looked at Mufirin. Because they were from another country, they couldn't ask too many questions, so they waited for the people from the embassy of Country C to come. Their island belonged to Country M. After all, it was a small country that wasn't as powerful as Country C. Therefore, they were still in awe of Country C. They didn't dare to be too harsh on the people from Country C. Whether a country was strong or not, sometimes it really depended on whether the people of their country were respected by other countries. The police officers said, "Why don't you tell us what happened? How did you kill someone?" Mufirin shook her head. "It wasn't me. I didn't kill anyone." But the forensic doctor went there and found that she was indeed dead. Mufirin trembled all over. "No, I didn't kill anyone." Outside, the police officers were also questioning those people. Of course, they insisted that it was Mufirin who did it. They would never say that they had instigated the man to flirt with Mufirin and almost rape her. That was why Mufirin killed him by accident. None of them felt guilty. They didn't think that this matter had anything to do with them. Perhaps they knew in their hearts. But although they didn't collude with each other, they completely forgot about the rape incident. It was as if they were just passing by, and Mufirin went crazy and wanted to kill someone. "Hurry up and solve it for us." "That's right. She's dead. We're all watching. Why don't you lock her up?" They were talking. The police officer said, "You're all from Country C. I have to wait for the people from your embassy to deal with her." They discussed what they should do. "The embassy is here. She's a celebrity. Will she go back on her word? That won't do. We came out together. How are we going to explain to her family?" Mufirin should be the one to explain. "She killed someone, but it has nothing to do with us. It was an accident. She won't go back on her word, will she? We're all watching. There are so many witnesses. Besides, she's a celebrity. If we make a big deal out of this, she'll be finished." Chapter 1166. That's right. Let's make a big scene and see what she can do. Inside, the people from the embassy were still rushing over. Mufirin sat there in a daze, not saying a word. She seemed to be replaying the scene in her mind. She killed someone. At this moment, outside, someone suddenly broke into the police station. Hey, who is it? Who came in? Who are you? This is the police station. You can't just come in. Hey, you can't go in there. When Haing heard that something had happened to Mu Firen, he asked someone to take care of Yun Yun and hurried over. Mu Firen had been hiding from him since noon. Later, when he took Yun Yun out to play, Mu Firen said that she wanted to go for a walk and see the scenery. Then, she disappeared. Not long after, his men came to tell him that Mu Firen had been in trouble and was in the police station. When Haing saw the man, he glared at him like a cheetah in the dark. His sharp look made people shudder. He kicked him. Go to hell. He scolded and ran straight into the room. Hey, someone broke into the police station with a gun. Go. A few of them rushed in with guns in their hands. However, Haing didn't care about them. He kicked the door open and went straight into the interrogation room. He saw Mu Firen, who was sitting on a chair in a daze. He walked over and held her in his arms. He stood there and held her head against his body before looking down at her. It's okay. Don't worry, I'm here. Mu Firen looked up blankly. Looking at Haing, she was stunned. I killed someone. After saying this, she could no longer hold it in and burst into tears. Haing frowned and held her in his arms, letting her cry to her heart's content. Her tears wet his clothes, but she didn't care. She just wanted to cry against him. At this moment, the police had already raised their guns and aimed at the two people who were hugging each other. It wasn't until Mu Firen stopped crying and raised her head that she saw this scene. Behind her, several people surrounded her and pointed their guns at the two people. Her face turned pale with fright as she looked at the eagle. How? Black Hawk turned around and glanced at her. He was still hugging her, causing her to lean against him even more. He was standing, and she was sitting, her head resting on his stomach. It wasn't soft there, it was all his hard abs, all defined and defined. Leaning against the wall was very reassuring, but looking at so many guns still made one's heart palpitate. She hurriedly said, Stop. I killed him. Why are you facing him? A policeman was still holding his gun and looking inside. Breaking into the police station. Are you trying to break into a prison? Come here or we'll shoot. You dare to attack the police. Put your hands down and kneel on the ground. These words allowed Mu Firen to instantly understand what had happened. She looked up at the eagle. You. Black Eagle only glanced at the people behind him, his eyes cold, with a hint of loneliness and coldness. Don't worry about them, he said coldly. How could Mu Firen really not care? But you. It's okay. All right, don't worry. Tell me what happened. Mu Firen killed someone? That's impossible. Unless there was a reason. Mu Firen stuttered and told him about how they had molested her. Her face was still full of fear, and her face turned even uglier when she thought of the man's death. Hearing this, Black Hawk narrowed his eyes slyly, and a dangerous look appeared on his face. He said, They molested you? Mu Firen said, They're just ordinary tourists, but I killed someone. No, it's just some ordinary bad intentions. You didn't kill anyone. Firen, he deserves to die for treating you like this. No, I shouldn't have killed anyone. Mu Firen covered her face in pain. Black Hawk grabbed her hand and squatted down. He looked at her face and said, If this is called killing someone, then what am I? Mu Firen looked at him. His eyes were so pure that she almost forgot to breathe for a moment. Black Hawk said, Idiot, you didn't kill anyone. You just made a mistake. The blood on my hands is much more than yours. Even if the heavens want to punish someone, they will punish someone like me first, not you. No, you won't be punished. Mu Firen's heart ached. In order to comfort her, he said this to himself. You didn't do it on purpose, and God won't blame you. He has so many wicked people to punish, but he won't punish you. But I did it on purpose. Every time I kill someone, I kill them directly. Sometimes, I not only kill people, but also torture them. I'm the one who should go to hell, but you're not. You think you're vicious, but you're not. You've never seen such a vicious world. Haing sneered and said, I know what kind of person I am, and I've never thought that I would have a good ending, but you're not. You're a good person. Firen, you'll be fine. You didn't do it on purpose, and God won't blame you. God has so many wicked people to punish, but he won't punish you. Mufirin stared at him with her eyes wide open. Behind them, the police were a little dumbfounded. What was this man talking about? They all heard it. Was this man admitting that he had killed someone? And he had killed a lot of people? They had never seen this man. He was a wanted criminal. However, a man who dared to come to the police station and say that he had killed someone was either a lunatic or a real criminal. It seemed that he didn't want to turn himself in. He was just trying to comfort her. So he was joking. If that was the case, then this joke was a little too big. They were still looking at him. At this moment, someone outside said that the people from the embassy were here. They still held their guns and didn't dare to move. When the people from the embassy came in, Mr. M.O., the few of them hurried over. Because they heard that he was a celebrity, the embassy paid more attention to him. They were worried that there would be big news, so they sent a powerful official. Seeing Black Hawk, they all knew him. After all, Black Hawk was the most wanted criminal in Country C. It meant that his men were not allowed to enter Country C. He had set restrictions at every entry and exit point. Anyone who saw him had to be expelled from the country. Later, the president gave an order to allow him to enter Country C. This kind of wanted criminal would be photographed by the customs, immigration, and the embassy. Black Hawk turned around and said, "Okay, deal with it. I'll leave the people outside to you." Since Black Hawk was here, the people from the embassy didn't dare to say anything. They could only say, "Okay, don't worry, Mr. M.O. We'll find out the reason and give you an explanation. Then I'll take her away." Yes, yes, yes. Chapter 1167. Mufirin was taken out by Haiying. One by one, the policemen lowered their guns. Why? He just admitted that he killed someone. Are you not going to do anything about it? The policeman asked. The man from the embassy said, "He has killed many people. We can't do anything about it. He's Haiying." The policeman was stunned by the name. Many people had died in Haiying's hands, but they couldn't do anything about it. Even Country M couldn't do anything about it. No wonder this man didn't even flinch when so many guns were pointed at him. Or these guns. Outside, Mufirin was still shivering in fear. Haiying looked at her. "Let's go. I'll take you to take a shower first." No. Mufirin pulled Haiying over and looked at him, her eyes twitching uneasily. Black Hawk frowned and said seriously, "I guarantee that his family will not have to worry about food and clothing, and they will receive the corresponding compensation, which will be much higher than normal compensation. As for those who were with him, none of them will have a good ending. You don't think about it anymore." Mufirin bit her lip. Haiying said, "Just what? I just feel that you don't have to tell me so much." She looked into his deep eyes and felt that he had said that about her. He narrowed his eyes, and there was a sense of vastness on his face, as if he had been baptized by the passage of time. Truly, the past had already been engraved on his face and heart. It was dead and would not affect his heart at all. How much blood had he been through to have such a hard heart? She suddenly felt that he was in a difficult position. It wasn't easy being Haiying, who was feared by everyone. He looked at her and said, "But I want to tell you." Mufirin's heart skipped a beat. His thin lips moved as he looked into her eyes. "Are you afraid? Afraid? Not afraid?" She didn't feel any of these emotions. She was just a little touched. He had said those words to alleviate her guilt. She shook her head. "I'm not afraid." He smiled. "It's okay if you're afraid. Normal people would be afraid." She really wasn't afraid. He was willing to do this for her. How could she be afraid? Seeing that Haiying was about to turn around, she grabbed his arm. She was still trembling as she tugged at his sleeve. But this time, it wasn't because she was afraid, but that she quietly lifted her eyes to look at him. Her watery eyes looked right into his. I. She had never been good at expressing herself, and had always been passive. Even when she was with M.O. Ding, she had always been passively confessed to. She had never said that she liked him or that she loved him, because she was easily embarrassed. However, the man in front of her had evoked the fetters in her heart countless times. She seemed to be infatuated with him. She had never thought that there would be such a man in the world who could make her heart beat uncontrollably, as if she had returned to the time when she was young. She bit her lips. She knew that there were many people who had such thoughts. There were countless women who wanted to be his fetters. She might just be one of the inconspicuous ones, but at this moment, she still wanted to express herself. Biting her lip, she leaned forward and kissed him on the lips first. So proactive that the Black Eagle did not move at first. She was so shy that she wanted to hide in a hole and not come out. Just as she was about to move her lips away, she felt he finally hooked his arm around her shoulders and kissed her back forcefully. So domineering. Mu Firen felt as if she could not breathe. When Gu Jingzi and Lin Che arrived from afar, Gu Jingzi saw them at first glance. He stopped Lin Che with one hand and said, "Don't go over yet." Lin Che was stunned. "What's wrong?" He looked up and saw the two of them hugging in front of him. It couldn't be. Didn't they say something happened? What? Was that what had happened? Gu Jingzi said, "Looks like it's been resolved." All right. She was not needed anymore. That's right. The Black Eagle should be very experienced in dealing with this kind of thing. But they had kissed. Lin Che said, "So it's done?" Gu Jingzi said, "Looks like you don't have to worry about the Black Eagle. He knows how to take things step by step." Lin Che sighed. All right. She looked at Gu Jingzi. "Your eyesight is pretty good, kid." Gu Jingzi said, "Of course it's better than yours, silly. You can't see anything." Yeah, she couldn't see anything. She had automatically shut off all her senses when she was next to him. She was too lazy to use her eyes. He would see anyway. She was really spoiled by him. She didn't have to do anything by his side, but he did everything for her. When Mu Firen and the Black Eagle came back, the Black Eagle said, "Stay at my place tonight." Lin Che came out from behind. "Damn, you can't be so direct. You just kissed me and you want to take the next step?" Mu Firen was shocked again. What did he mean by the next step? What did he mean they just kissed? Did she see everything just now? The Black Eagle's face darkened. "She just got into an accident today. I was worried that something would happen to her tonight, so I took care of her nearby." He looked at Lin Che disdainfully. Did she think everyone was as filthy as her? Lin Che understood, but he still teased. Yeah, it's better to be closer. It's better to watch her sleep. She's very timid." Mu Firen hurriedly glared at her and pinched her waist secretly from behind. Lin Che yelped and quickly dodged. Seeing that Mu Firen was much better, she said with a smile, "Looks like the Black Eagle has a way. You look much better." Mu Firen blushed. Lin Che said to Mu Firen, "All right, don't think so much. Let's look forward. You still have Union. Just look at Union and you won't think about anything else, right?" Yeah, she still had Union. She had to be strong. She said, "Don't worry about me. I'll adjust." Lin Che said, "I can understand how you feel, but think about it. If you don't do that, what will happen to you? Do you want to go through that, or do you want to kill him?" Mu Firen thought about how he would defile her. No, she didn't want that to happen even if she died. She shook her head hard and said to Lin Che, "I know." Lin Che said, "I've killed someone before. I know that I need to adjust, but sometimes we have to do this." She hugged Mu Firen, and Mu Firen leaned into her arms. "I don't have a choice." "I know." Lin Che said, "Who asked us to be here? We have to pay a high price here. But even so, I still want to be with Gu Jingzi and live a peaceful life with the people around me. If I have to choose one, I'll choose the one beside me. So, I can only accept the consequences of this choice." Chapter 1168. Although her situation was different from hers, Mu Firen knew that. She was destined to be different from ordinary people because of her identity. She was a public figure, so she had to take on a lot of risks. She knew that, but she chose to be an artist. Nodding, she said, "I understand, Lin Che. Thank you. Thank me. Then repay me with your body," Lin Che said with a smile. Mu Firen pouted. "But you already have a man. I mean, marry me and be my sister-in-law." Mu Firen shut up again. She didn't want to talk to him at all. That night, the two of them naturally stayed together, but what would happen? Lin Che was looking forward to it, but he felt that it was enough. Wasn't enough to support each other in times of trouble? Lin Che leaned against the wall at night, while Gu Jingzi sat beside her and peeled oranges for her. Lin Che ate a piece of orange and mumbled, "It seems that Firen will be fine. She's actually quite a strong person. When she was alone abroad, she was bullied by Mo Ding, but she was still a good person. Gu Jingzi thought of this and remembered that Lin Che had fired a gun before. He looked at Lin Che. Were you afraid when you fired the gun? Lin Che looked ahead. How could she not be afraid? But she was more afraid of losing him. She shook her head. If I were alone, I wouldn't have dared to do it, but I was thinking of someone else at that time, so I wasn't afraid. Gu Jingzi looked at her quietly and slowly pulled her into his arms. She said, "Of course I want to be stronger so that I can stand by your side with peace of mind. So, whether it's a company, a game, or something else, I hope I can do it well. That way, I can become stronger and stronger." Gu Jingzi kissed her on the forehead. At this time, the two of them hugged each other, feeling particularly warm. Gu Jingzi said, "I let you be with me, and I'll put you in danger with me." Gu Jingzi. She looked up at him. "But I'm willing." Love was dangerous, but if it could be controlled, it wouldn't be dangerous. Before her vacation ended, Yu Minmin sent her a message, saying that he had found a good endorsement for her and reminding her to go back early. When Lin Che returned to the office, Yu Minmin told him that this endorsement was very rare. It was for a cosmetics brand in China. Because it was an international brand, they usually did not look for a spokesperson in China, but this company had done it for the first time. The other party had taken the initiative to look for Lin Che because they had seen the scene of Lin Che's comeback. They felt that after so many years, her skin had always been good, and there was no negative news about her plastic surgery. Although they had always said that she must have had plastic surgery, they had no evidence at all. Her face had not changed over the years. Other than the difference in her makeup, everything else was very pure. This also made them very relieved. They would not let their own spokesperson's plastic surgery fail and become ugly for no reason. Lin Che said to Yu Minmin with a smile, "You even managed to get this endorsement. That's amazing." Yu Minmin said, "It's all because of you. I didn't do much. You don't have to be so humble. There are so many competitors, so you definitely have your share." However, before the two of them could rejoice, the assistant behind them said, "Sis Che, there's a piece of news online saying that you snatched a newcomer's endorsement. What happened?" "What?" Yu Minmin mumbled to herself that it was impossible. Then, she went online to take a look. Indeed, it was a newcomer. She didn't even know anyone. She had a rather pure little face and looked quite pretty. She posted on Weibo, "Forget it. I can't compete with these rich and powerful people anyway. If I don't want the endorsement, then so be it." Then, an internet celebrity reposted it and said, "It's suspected that Lin Che snatched a newcomer's endorsement from a big brand." The newcomer is complaining incessantly on Weibo. It's said that he's endorsing an international luxury cosmetics brand, YT. Lin Che was also dumbfounded. He asked curiously, "Who is this? I don't even know him." Yu Minmin said, "Maybe someone found out about your endorsement and wanted to create hype. Let me see which artist is so insensible as to use you to create hype." Yu Minmin quickly went to check it out. Lin Che waited in the office. Not long after, there was news from the people in the office. This artist is from a small management company. He doesn't seem to have any background or backing. He came from a small family and graduated from a drama academy. He has only done a few minor roles so far. Lin Che said, "Since that's the case, then forget it. If he wants to create hype, then so be it. A warning will do." Yu Minmin looked at him and said, "You're so generous." Lin Che said, "Who hasn't done minor roles before? As long as he doesn't have bad intentions, he can create hype if he wants. If he has bad intentions, then I can't do anything about it. All right, if he goes overboard, we'll really have to deal with him." Yu Minmin knew that Lin Che was still very forgiving deep down. He wasn't petty about this kind of thing. Lin Che left the office and continued to browse the internet for fun games. Suddenly, he noticed a small gaming studio called Genesis. Recently, she had been searching for similar games online. Thus, she was momentarily attracted by the creativity and graphics of this game. Although the game was very small and used to kill time, it was really fascinating. She looked at it for a while before calling Chen Lanshan and saying, "I saw a gaming studio. Help me check it out and see what this studio is like." Chen Lanshan's voice was very lazy. She had heard that she had gone on vacation, right after the show and felt that she really didn't have much enthusiasm for their work. However, she didn't expect that she would still remember. Since her boss had instructed her, she had to do it. She asked lazily, "All right, Miss Lin, what studio is it?" Lin Che said, "Genesis." Chun-Lan Shan felt that she had never heard of it before. Recently, she had followed Lin Che's instructions and investigated a few studios, but she really hadn't heard of this one. However, since Lin Che had instructed her to do so, she immediately said, "All right, I'll go and ask." Lin Che played for a while more and really felt that this game was great. And Chun-Lan Shan was indeed a good worker. Very quickly, she went to check it out. In an instant, she found out that this studio was a non-governmental organization and not a company. It developed some low-cost games that a few students played together. With this, Chun-Lan Shan was speechless. She thought, why did Lin Che find such a studio for no reason? However, she didn't expect that when Chun-Lan Shan started asking around, someone had already told Genesis that someone was asking about them. The few people in Genesis were playing in a university dormitory. One of them was a professional hacker. He had been a freelance hacker for many years and still had his own reputation in the industry. However, this group of people in their 20s were really nationalistic. When they heard someone asking about it, they snorted and said, "I don't think it's anything good. It's probably another scam." Chapter 1169. They had encountered this many times in the past. They were just a small studio. Big companies looked down on them, and there were many scammers who wanted to buy the games they made. In fact, they wanted to be an intermediary, then sell the games to big companies at a low price and sell them at a high price. Although they would still get a penny if they sold the games, they would still feel uncomfortable when they thought about the high price. In the past, they had been scammed once. Their parkour game was sold for a sky-high price of tens of millions. Later on, it became even more popular, and they regretted it. Hence, when such intermediaries came, they did not care about them at all. Therefore, when they heard about Chun-Lan Shan, they just snorted and didn't take it seriously. Crooked neck, hide it. The studio has stopped working, and all contact information has been removed. KG, what do you mean? Do you think they'll still look for us? KG was their leader hacker, and everyone listened to him. KG nodded. That's right. Get them to withdraw, and don't let anyone find us to avoid trouble. He twirled his pen. It's annoying to deal with these people. Yeah, it's annoying to talk to people. It's not as comfortable as coding, right? Okay, we got it. Chun-Lan Shan returned empty-handed. She even said that she couldn't find the studio. She called Lin Che and told him about it. "Miss Lin, the studio can't be reached." Lin Che asked in surprise, "What does that mean? Can't be reached? Is the name of the studio correct? I can't find it." Lin Che narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment. "Forget it. Leave it to me." She opened the page of the game. Indeed, there was no contact information. Gu Jingze was holding the child in his arms. Seeing Lin Che's puzzled expression, he walked over and said lightly, "It's obviously hidden." Lin Che was stunned. He turned around and asked, "What do you mean hidden?" Gu Jingze said, "The customer service information on the page is hidden. It seems that they don't want to be found." "Why not? Isn't it good to be appreciated?" "There are many reasons. Some are hackers who don't want to come out of retirement, and some have had bad experiences. Isn't that annoying? I finally found a good game studio." Gu Jingze leaned over. "It's not hard to find it." Lin Che looked up. I'll find someone to help you find it. Even a top hacker can't be foolproof. There will definitely be clues left behind." Lin Che said, "I'll give it a try then." Gu Jingze picked up the phone and asked Qin how to come over. After Qin Hao arrived, Gu Jingze directly told him about it. Qin Hao said, "President Gu, I haven't touched code for a long time." Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. Qin Hao hurriedly turned on the computer. "I'll try my best." "Of course," Gu Jingze said. Lin Che blinked his eyes as he watched Qin Hao skillfully open his computer and search for a web page. She said, "Hey, isn't Qin Hao the special assistant?" Qin Hao looked up and said, "Madam, I used to play with computers when I was young." "Really?" Gu Jingze said, "Qin Hao was the top hacker in Country C when he was young. His name is Aries." Qin Hao looked up modestly. His face was red with embarrassment. It's all because of everyone. Lin Che then watched as Qin Hao kept typing on the computer. His fingers were so fast that it was dazzling. The web page turned into data, and in an instant, it was filled with incomprehensible codes. Lin Che was extremely surprised. No wonder that Gu Jingze didn't keep useless people around him. He just didn't expect Qin Hao, who looked very old-fashioned, to be so capable. It seemed that the hidden talents around Gu Jingze were not something she could imagine, that Gu Jingze just watched leisurely from the side. Qin Hao typed on the code as he said, "Indeed, the IP address of the web page is hidden. It seems that the person is hiding. Can you find him?" Gu Jingze asked. "I can definitely find him. I can see that the other party is very strong. He hasn't discovered me yet and hasn't resisted, but I think he'll. He found me." The other party had already discovered Qin Hao's intrusion. For a moment, the computer started beeping, and the code became even more chaotic. Qin Hao's fingers moved even faster. As he typed, he said, "He's indeed in this city, but the server shouldn't be big. He's really quite strong." Gu Jingze said, "Why? Can't you catch him?" "No, it'll take some time." He didn't know why, but he thought of something and changed the code. The clacking sounds continued for a while. Suddenly, he slammed the table. "Okay, I caught him." Gu Jingze said, "What's wrong?" "I left my contact information. He should be contacting me soon." Lin Che said, "Isn't he hiding? Why would he contact you?" "I've locked down his server." Lin Che said, "Wow, Assistant Qin, you're amazing." Qin Hao said, I can't take it anymore. I'm old. I didn't use it for so long in the past. But this kid is also amazing. I can see that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. He has some skills." Halfway through his nagging, he noticed that Gu Jingze was looking at him with narrowed eyes. Qin Hao immediately shut his mouth. "But he's definitely not as brilliant as our President Gu." Lin Che was still looking at him with admiration. Just then, Qin Hao's phone rang. Qin Hao immediately picked up the phone. Holding the phone with his neck askew, he looked at KG's eyes and said cautiously, "Who are you?" "You actually managed to break KG's code." KG's expression was enough to explain everything. Qin Hao said, "Hello. This is your number, right? We have something to talk to you face to face." "Face to face? Have you been looking for us for the past few days?" "Yes, we have some projects that we'd like to talk about in person. Is that okay?" "Sorry, we don't work with anyone. We'll talk about it when we meet. We'll meet at a cafe in the city center. We'll talk when you're here. Otherwise, sorry, you'll have to buy a new server. Also, I'm not sure if the server will be locked in the future." Crooked Neck was so angry that he almost cursed. "He's too arrogant. KG, what should we do?" KG's eyes twitched, but he nodded in the end. Crooked Neck could only say, "Okay, tomorrow afternoon." "Sure." Crooked Neck hung up the phone speechlessly and said to KG, "Then we'll really go." KG quietly returned to his chair. "I haven't met such a strong opponent in years. His skills remind me of some gurus from the past." "Really?" Chapter 1170. That's right. These techniques were popular in the past. Directly block the other party's server. "Okay then. Tomorrow. You guys go first. I'll go take a look later." "Okay." On the other side, Lin Che confirmed the time. Knowing that he could finally see the contact information of the studio that he wanted, he was elated. He prepared to go to the company first. At the company, YT Company, who was the spokesperson, was preparing to hold a signing ceremony for her. To hold a ceremony in front of the media, it would be considered as the official signing of the contract. It was also a form of respect for her. The press conference for the endorsement was prepared to be simple. They called a few media outlets over. Because of the news of her snatching the endorsement last time, the media quickly rushed over, wanting to ask her what exactly was going on. After the simple signing ceremony, Lin Che accepted the media's interview. The media directly said, "I heard that there's a newcomer called Su Wan. She said that she almost signed the endorsement contract, but changed her mind later on. Do you know about this rumor?" Lin Che smiled. I only found out about this after seeing the news online. But I really don't know. The endorsement was negotiated by the company. Because I really like this brand, I happily accepted it. But I only heard about this news later on. If anyone has any questions, it's better to ask the company. At this time, TY also directly sent someone to come over. Regarding the endorsement, the company only decided after careful research and discussion. We felt that Lin Che was more suitable, so we held a meeting and chose Lin Che. But other people might have some misunderstandings and think that since we've discussed it, it means that we're going to work together. Actually, we did discuss with many artists, and in the end, we chose Lin Che. Did this mean that the little artist really misunderstood? This was a bit of a slap in the face. Lin Che didn't care about this. After the signing ceremony, he left through the back. However, just as he reached the outside, he heard someone talking not far behind him. It was a woman's pleading voice. It was so weak that it sounded a bit strange. Please, I'm begging you. My acting career has just started. I really don't want it to end like this. Can you get out of the way? Another person said sternly. No, I can't leave. I've been warned like this before I've even graduated. No one will dare to want me in the future. I can't give up. I'm begging you. Can you please let me go? I was framed to post those words on Weibo. Someone deliberately framed me and used those words to create hype. Actually, I didn't post those words at all. It was someone who paid a traitor to play tricks behind the scenes. It really has nothing to do with me. At this moment, someone from the company called out to Lin Che. Sis Che, the car is here. It's here. Lin Che gestured for them to stop talking. She walked over to listen to what the person on the other side was saying. I told you, it's useless to explain to me. What you're doing is smearing the interests of our company. I don't care who framed you. It's your own problem. But I really... All right, get out of my way. I'm busy here. I don't have time to waste with you. It looked like someone from TY's internal staff. He raised his hand to ask someone to chase her away. At this time, stop. Lin Che walked over. He looked like the manager of TY. He looked at Lin Che and calmed down a little. He said, Oh, Miss Lin, this is the person who said that you stole the endorsement. Don't worry, we're also very angry that this matter has affected you. That's why we want to send a lawyer's letter to sue her for defamation. As she said this, Su Wan suddenly looked at Lin Che and said, Lin Che, I know this is a misunderstanding, but I really didn't do it. Can you believe me? I would never post something like this. I did come to see TY's director, but I didn't have any hope of getting the endorsement. Why would I post something like that on Weibo? Lin Che looked at the girl. She looked young, had long hair, and was fair. She didn't look like the type that would make people hate her. She said, All right, Boss Wu, you can leave first. Can I clarify this matter first? Oh, of course. It's related to Miss Lin as well. It's only right for Miss Lin to clarify this matter. The manager here still gave Lin Che face and generously handed the matter over to Lin Che. Lin Che said, All right, we're the only ones here now. Tell me what's going on. Suwon also didn't expect Lin Che to suddenly come over and listen to her. She looked at the people behind Lin Che. Lin Che brought a lot of bodyguards and staff. She was worried that if she said something wrong, she would be punished. However, looking at Lin Che, he didn't seem like that kind of person. Her reputation in the circle had always been very good. No one would say anything bad about her. Suwon gritted her teeth. Since it was a broken pot, she thought about it. Since it was the same, she might as well say it. Because I offended the other artists in the company, they deliberately posted this to provoke a war between you and me. They know that you can destroy me with one hand, so they deliberately did this. Lin Che said, How did you offend them? Previously at the cocktail party, I exposed the fact that she had an affair with another man in the past. It made her current sugar daddy unhappy. Lin Che smiled and said, How can I believe you? Do you have any evidence? Yes, I do. Look, this Weibo address is a proxy. Since I posted it myself, why would I use a proxy IP? My Weibo account was hacked, so I took it out. Lin Che looked at it and handed it to Dongzi. Dongzi took it and looked at it, saying in a low voice, Yes, miss, this is a proxy IP specially used by some hackers. Lin Che nodded and looked at her. All right, this matter is over. I won't let people pursue it anymore. What's your name? As if she heard the holy words, Su-won looked at Lin Che and asked in surprise, "You're not going to pursue it anymore?" "Yeah. I asked you what's your name." "My name is Su-won." "All right, Su-won, you have to be low-key in this circle. Don't casually offend people. Work hard in the future." She waved her hand and told everyone to leave. She didn't say anything else to Su-won. Anyway, she had to slowly walk this path by herself. Su-won looked at Lin Che. She really didn't think that Lin Che would come forward to help her. For a moment, she felt emotional and grateful. Fortunately, she met such a generous star like Lin Che. If it was someone else, she's afraid that her future path would only be more difficult. Su-won didn't think that she would be able to get the endorsement. Looking at Lin Che now, she felt even more so. How could people choose her and not Lin Che? Lin Che's skin was really good and so natural. He also looked so beautiful. He was very suitable for this endorsement. Chapter 1171. Lin Che said to Dongzi, "Go check on Su-won when you have time." Dongzi said, "Yes, Mississippi." Yu Minmin looked at him and asked, "What's wrong? Are you interested in her? I want to know if she's lying to me. If she is, I won't let her off either. But she looks really pitiful." "Yeah," Lin Che sighed. "I think what she said makes sense. If it was me, I would have been the same back then. I would have tried every single audition, but I never had much hope. Once I was chosen, I would be extremely happy. It was as if a pie had fallen from the sky." Yu Minmin smiled. "Really? You were so miserable back then. I really couldn't tell. You only stared at rich artists every day. Of course you didn't notice me." "Of course. You don't have money, and I have to support my family." The two chatted about the past and laughed at each other for a long time. It felt like a lifetime had passed. It was so close yet so far. "Okay, I still have something to do. I have to go for my appointment." "Oh, you're going to meet those hackers?" "Yeah. Hurry up and go." A few youngsters had already arrived at the cafe. Qin Hao was already waiting outside. He kept looking in from outside. The youngsters looked solemn as they looked at the people around them and discussed what to do later. King hadn't arrived yet. The youngsters were a bit unsure because King wasn't here. At that moment, they saw a man in a suit and leather shoes. He looked like he had a high status and looked like a successful person. He stood in front of them and smiled. "Which one of you is king?" They stood up. "So is this man? You're the one who locked our server?" Crooked Neck asked. Qin Hao smiled. "I'm not the one who wanted to see you." "What?" At this moment, Lin Che walked in from the back. "Hello, everyone. It's been hard to find you guys." When they saw Lin Che walking in gracefully, they smiled sweetly. They froze. This thought wasn't this Lin Che. He looked like him, but they were worried that he wasn't. Were there people who looked so similar in this world? Lin Che smiled and said, "Excuse me, are you all from the studio? You're so young. You don't look very old. Is this studio an amateur?" Lin Che asked directly, but they still hadn't recovered from the shock. After a while, Crooked Neck suddenly coughed. He looked at her and asked tentatively, You're Lin Che, right?" Lin Che narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Yeah." The others were even more shocked. They looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Lin Che said, "I'm Lin Che, but now I'm someone who wants to work with you." Crooked Neck hurriedly walked over and shook hands with Lin Che. Lin Che, I like you so much. You are always on my computer screen." Lin Che looked at his affectionate gesture and laughed dryly. The people behind him quickly came over and pulled his neck. "Hey, what happened to being cool? Why did you go up to her the moment you saw that she's a big star?" However, Crooked Neck and the others were a group of university students. They had never seen anyone before, much less a superstar who was a movie queen. Lin Che, At this moment behind them, "We don't want to work together." KG finally arrived. He stood behind them and looked in Lin Che's direction as he said, "We're just our own studio. We don't want to work with anyone else." Lin Che looked at him in surprise. She sized him up and then looked at the attitude of the people around him. She immediately understood that he was KG. She walked up and said, "KG, even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for others. That's right, you're talented and a good hacker. You might not need to work with anyone, but you can still have a rich life. They can also have a rich life. However, It wasn't easy for them to create a game. Is it really good for them to follow you and live a bitter life while eating bran and drinking Northwest Wind? KG's eyebrows twitched. Money isn't the most important thing to us. Lin Che said, that's right. But they clearly have their own ambitions and can do better things and more things. But they gave up because you don't want to. Is that okay? KG looked at her and said, what do you know? Lin Che chuckled. I don't understand, but I've been through this too. I know that no one wants to live an ordinary life, and they're the same. As for you, you didn't even hear what I was talking about when I said we were going to work together, and you've already started objecting and preparing to give up. Do you know how many futures you've missed because of your once-bitten, twice-shy attitude? KG's expression became even more serious as he stared at Lin Che. After a while, he finally sat down. All right, tell me, what kind of collaboration? Lin Che smiled and sat down as well. It's like this. We're preparing to make a game, and the investor is a businessman from Country M. We'll continue working with them in the form of a collaboration. The game can be named after the studio, but it has to be affiliated with Li Mingyu's company. Their registered company in Country C is called Kaixing Corporation, which is the game we're going to make. Initially, I think the game can be made into a mobile game and a client-side game. As for the rest, we'll discuss it further. Mobile games are very popular now, but they have to be fast-paced. I think your style is very suitable, but it's more troublesome to develop a client-side game. I'm not sure if you have experience in this, but no matter what, I have high hopes for your studio and think that your creativity is very good, so I want to collaborate with you. Collaborate? Collaborate to make a game? After Lin Che finished speaking, even though it was a short sentence, everyone was stunned. He didn't want to buy their game, nor did he want to buy their copyrights. He wanted them to develop a game. Was this for real? Lin Che said, I hope you can consider it. Whether it's a mule or a horse, we'll take it for a spin. To be honest, you have nothing to lose. Are you afraid that I'll scam you? You don't have anything worth scamming. The few of them were once again stunned by Lin Che's words. If someone else had said this, they wouldn't have been convinced. But Lin Che indeed had everything he wanted now. A superstar would earn a lot of money, be famous, and have a company. And they were students who hadn't even graduated yet. KG narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Che. Lin Che tilted his head and responded calmly without fear. After a while, KG finally said, all right, I'll go back and think about it. Okay, this is the address of the company. You can come and visit anytime. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.